Ladies and gentlemen, it is Monday, November 10th, 2025, and here's what's coming up on the Owen Report today. Well, over the weekend, again, just like last week and maybe even the week before that, and who knows how long this trend is going to continue, we saw a massive effort in an attempt to corral the right wing, more specifically the dissident right, the anti-establishment right, which is looking to sever ties, let's say, with Israel. And so you have this desperate attempt, and I think we've reached levels of desperation now that we've never seen before, maybe even in American politics. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like this before in American politics. And as I'm preparing the show and I'm seeing how most of my content today is centered around this conversation, I'm just as sick of it as you. But it is the issue of the time. And there's a reason why this is happening ahead of the midterms. And then again, it'll be probably just as intense in 2028. But for now, it's all about the midterms and the other elections, governors, mayors. But it's about one thing and one thing only. Now, what I'm going to try to do here first is reframe this entire issue. This entire issue needs to be reframed. And if we can do that, I think we can actually get some semblance of success or a modicum of even understanding from both sides on this issue. But it's intentionally framed in a manner to defeat it. So I'm going to explain that with all the different clips, Levin, Shapiro, Stefanik over the weekend, all of them trying to bring the right together in a full force effort to always support Israel. And that's what it's always about. And so now you see, that's what it was always about for them. They really don't care about conservative values. They really don't even care about America. It's always been about Israel. So when you understand that, now it starts to make a lot more sense. These aren't conservatives. They aren't Republicans. They're not American patriots. These are people that are Israeli loyalists, Israeli patriots. And that's fine. I don't hate you for that. But this is America. I'm an American. We're going to put America first. And if you're going to try to stop that agenda because Israel first is your issue, then we are at an odds, aren't we? And we are in a head-on collision right now, aren't we? So I'm going to explain it all, but it has to be reframed. It has to be reframed. And I'll just say it like this before I get into it. Let's just reframe the entire thing. This is not an issue with Jewish people. This is not an issue with Israel. This is an issue with foreign policy and foreign aid. And when we frame it like that, we are inevitably victorious. That's why they're constantly trying to reframe it and re-aim it so that the proper context is not understood, and then they can fall back on their same argument, which is, oh, the people that are against Israel are just anti-Semites, so you can't listen to them. No, this is a foreign policy issue. This is a foreign aid issue. And when we understand it like that and we approach it like that, the rest falls into place. All right, so that's going to be a lot of it. The government shutdown coming to an end. Why? Why are they deciding to end it now? I think we all know. Has nothing to do with the policies, has nothing to do with the bill. It has to do with the now 2-hour wait time to get on your flight. And so the men and women of Congress saw that their flights were getting delayed, and they said, okay, let's open this sucker back up. Gavin Newsom is campaigning. Everybody thinks that means he's about to run for office. I think that's probably inevitable. So we got all of that going on. And no, there was not a Supreme Court decision on the tariffs. Our guest, Bob Barnes, was right. The entire mainstream media said it would be decided by Friday. My guest, Bob Barnes, says not going to happen. He turned out to be right. So all of that and more coming up on today's Owen Report.
This news update was brought to you by the 1776 Law Center, the official legal team of the Owen Report.
Folks, I got to tell you about my friends at CHOQ.com. That's CHOQ.com. And the reason why I'm telling you about them is because men's testosterone levels have declined 1% a year on average after the age of 30. Well, I'm over 30, so this pertains to me and probably a lot of you as well. Worse, men's testosterone levels on average are about half of what they were 50 years ago. So it's not just the 1% decline, it's an overall decline from a generation ago. Testosterone is more than just your manhood. It's critical for mental clarity, mood, sleep, and overall vitality. The Patriots at CHOQ.com, that's CHOQ.com, have formulated a blend of natural herbal supplements that support your body's natural testosterone production. Just one ingredient in their male vitality stack has boosted free testosterone levels more than 50% in just 3 weeks. And right now, you can get 25% off your CHOQ subscription for life. Just go to CHOQ.com, CHOQ.com, and use promo code Owen. That's 25% off any subscription for life. And you can cancel anytime. CHOQ is made in America, and their all-American customer service team is standing by to assist you. That's CHOQ.com, CHOQ.com, promo code Owen, or give them a call or text at 50-CHOQ-3000. Call or text at 50-CHOQ-3000. And folks, as you know, I have been using the CHOQ supplements, specifically the Male Vitality Stack or the Ultra Vitality Stack, both at CHOQ.com. And I have nothing but positive things to say. So big shout out to our friends at CHOQ.com.
On the cutting edge of news and analysis, the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
All right, here we go. Another week, huh? Who's ready for another week? Time flying by. It'll be Christmas. It'll be Christmas before you even know it, ladies and gentlemen, as we're already, I think it's fair to say we're in mid-November now. Fair to say we're in mid-November now. And I'm pleased to announce that it does appear Donald Trump took some of my advice from Friday. And he played some golf. How about that? President Trump decided to take some of my advice and play some golf. Well, President Trump, it's a good thing. You should probably be taking much more of my advice, but once for now is good enough. So President Trump out on the golf course today. In fact, the headlines were reading, they were trying to reach a deal with this government shutdown, and they were calling President Trump. And he was on the golf course. I say good. I say screw them all, President Trump. That's what I say. Senate Republicans embraced Trump's call from his Florida golf course to replace Obamacare. Amid a historic government shutdown, some senators on Capitol Hill are working this weekend on an unpopular bill. Well, here's the bad news for Congress. The good news is you're going to get the deal. And hopefully by the time you guys are ready to flee out of there, to get out of town, maybe your flights won't be as delayed as they are for the rest of us, which I suspect is the main reason why they're wanting to reopen. They don't want to sit and wait around for 2 to 3 hours over the flight delays. They're not like President Trump with Air Force One or Trump Force One. So, you know, they kind of got to schlub it like the rest of us. Now, unless you're some of these Democrats like Elizabeth Warren, she flies private. So that's nice. Some of them might even still take the train if they're in the right areas of the West Coast. Excuse me, the East Coast, not the West Coast, the East Coast. But no, they saw that line and they said, all right, let's reopen this sucker. So they're probably going to have that deal done by the end of the week. And Trump trying to navigate this from the golf course tells me that he's just about as sick of it as the rest of us are. I wish he was taking all week off, but he was back in the Oval Office today, swearing in the new ambassador to India and some other diplomatic duties. So it was a one day off for golf. I wanted him to take a week off for golf. He took one. We'll take it. Maybe it'll help him out. He did actually seem refreshed today. I will say he did seem refreshed. Not like last week when he was dozing off and having a nap time in the middle of all the festivities. So now the real hard work is going to come to the front of the issues here. And that's how are they going to fix this disaster that is healthcare? How are they going to fix this disaster that's oncoming in January when everybody's bills are about to go up? And look, this is a real disaster, folks. This is a real disaster. And I mean, this issue with the economy is not going anywhere. And it's like everything they're doing is admitting that the economy is in a really bad place. Everything that they're doing is proof that, yes, they know the economy is not in a good place. So when they come out and they tell you how great the economy is or golden age or all of this stuff, and then they tell you 50-year mortgages, $2,000 stimulus checks, your insurance premiums about to triple, and you can't afford it. All signs of a bad economy. So we are in a bad economy. Now, I understand Trump just he's like a morale guy. He's like, just keep it positive, keep it positive, keep it positive. So, okay, I get that. That's who he is. Still doesn't make it true. The economy's bad. It's not good. And everything they're doing proves it. Now, what are we going to do here? What are we going to do? They'll end the shutdown out. Nothing got done. Schumer faces calls to resign as minority leader after some Democrats work with the Republicans to end shutdown. So it seems like there's a bit of a break today, you might say. There's a bit of a break inside the Democrat Party. Now, I would not watch all of these developments and leave out the fact that it's likely all very coordinated. It's all very coordinated. Now, what do I mean by that? The Democrats huddled and they said, who can we get to vote to reopen the government that would cost us the least politically? Now, Masto Cortez in Nevada, Fetterman in Pennsylvania, they had already voted, and the Democrats look at those states, they're purple states. So for a Democrat to kind of go against the Democrat Party on a big vote like this is not necessarily a bad thing, because they figure this will keep you in office, this will keep you winning elections. So you guys can go ahead and kind of take your stand first. We don't think it'll cost us too much. And if we're crunching numbers, maybe we figure if there's Democrats that won't vote for you because of this, there's Republicans that will. Okay. So they bring out Masto Cortez, and they bring out Fetterman. But it wasn't enough. So now you got Tim Kaine doing the media rounds today, explaining why he's doing it. And then you've got the independent Angus King. And so what the Democrats did is they huddled. And they said, all right, we still have to pretend like our stand was righteous. We still have to pretend like this wasn't some political stunt that we just pulled, even though it was. So how do we decide who's going to go out there and vote for this to reopen and who's not? So they huddled and they did the measurements, and they said, who do we want out there speaking for us right now? Who can we put out there in, say, a purple state where if they do stand against the Democrats but explain it, it won't really hurt us, so we can still look like it was a righteous stand. So that's what they did. So they said, all right, here's the 8 Democrats in the Senate, and we're going to tell you guys are going to go out and you're going to vote to reopen. Everything was decided by the party. Do not be confused. Everything was decided by the party. Now, Fetterman is the one outlier, and maybe King too, and he's an independent. But Fetterman is the one outlier here. Every other decision that is made right now is all decided by the party and greenlit by Chuck Schumer. So the whole thing was a facade. And the bill that they're going to vote to pass is going to be virtually the exact same bill that they have allowed to shut down the government for 30, 40 days, whatever we're at now, 40-something days. It'll probably be 40-something days when it's all said and done. They're anticipating maybe Wednesday, Thursday, they'll get a deal done. But the bill didn't change. Now, I don't know if this was all about the elections that we just saw. The circumstantial evidence would tell you that it did play a factor, and now that the elections are over and the Democrats won them, they figured let's reopen the government. So they might have made a bet that they thought that was going to be good, or maybe they just weren't sure, but they had nothing to lose, so they went with it anyway. But now they won their election, so now they're willing to reopen. They had their huddle. They decided who would go out, who would vote for it, and what would be the best for the overall party apparatus. Now that they're ready to reopen. But it was all decided by the party. Do not be confused. All of this was decided by the party. It was the whole thing. So they're going to vote for the exact same bill. And then these bums, and they're all bums, in about a month, you're going to be faced with a very similar issue. But it's going to be a lot more pressing because in January, people's health care costs are going to go up. They're going to skyrocket. Now, the truth is your average senator doesn't give a damn about you and doesn't give a damn about your healthcare costs. But they do care about getting reelected, and they do care about finding a way to avoid any blame for anything that happens in Washington, D.C. So how are they going to be able to do this? Are we going to have another situation in a month with the continued resolution in front of the Christmas vacation that they always vote so that they can go back on vacation? Do you really think Congress can find a deal, or the administration has any idea of what to do with this disastrous issue we're facing in 2026 of healthcare costs and insurance premiums? They don't have a clue, folks. Nobody has a clue. And you're going to be sitting there right before Christmas, and this is all going to be on Congress's desk, and they're not going to know what to do. So they're either going to have some sort of new continued resolution, some expansion of Obamacare, or somebody's just going to have to take a stand and say, too bad. This is the Affordable Care Act. This is what you get. Now, I don't know what happens when people can't afford it and they pull out. The whole thing is going to collapse, and maybe that's what Trump wants. Maybe that's what the Republicans want. I don't know. I'm not even sure if they know. But this whole reopen thing, it just shows what a clown show politics are. It just shows what an absolute dog and pony act Congress is. They go through this record shutdown, which isn't even a real shutdown, and then they vote for the exact same bill that they've been protesting for more than a month. And then a month later, they're going to get back in front of us, and they're going to have the exact same issue, and nothing is going to be figured out, but they'll vote just so they can go on vacation for Christmas. It's a clown show. It's a dog and pony show. And then you're probably going to enter 2026 with record high insurance payments, is how that's going to go. And there'll be finger pointing and everything else. And then people won't be able to afford health care, and they'll drop out, and the system will collapse. And so everything you're seeing right now is just going to repeat in a month. The whole thing is just going to repeat. The same debate, the same issues, the same healthcare costs going up. It's all going to repeat, the same votes, the same standoffs, the same drama. And then right before Christmas, they'll all vote so that they can go home and enjoy Christmas. But I don't know if they'll have a solution. Because notice, and we covered this last week, but if you follow the mainstream news or just political developments, who is really highlighting the increased costs of healthcare? Who's really highlighting the monthly premiums going up? Is anybody really highlighting this? The answer is no. I've got the news up right here. So you always see on my side screen. They're talking about how it's going to reopen after 40 days. You're going to have the same issue in another 40 days. On December 20th, we're all going to be sitting here with the exact same issue, which is unaffordable health care and monthly premiums going up in 2026. And they have no solution. But see, this is going to be like, it's going to be like a giant pressure release. It's going to be like some fake breath of fresh air in D.C. It's like, we avoided the shutdown. We reopened. Like, it's all good. It's like, oh my gosh, the stress. And then in 40 days on December 20th, it's going to be the exact same deal. It's going to be the exact same deal. So what are they going to do? They don't have a plan. They'll probably bring this back in 40 days and do the exact same thing and extend it another year, just like they did a year ago. And they'll have no solution for the people that are about to have to cancel their insurance. And they'll have no solution for the premiums going up 3, 4, 5 times what they were just the year ago. It's a dog and pony show. It's a giant charade. But hey, guys, our wonderful politicians that love us so much, our wonderful politicians, they love us so much, they're going to make sure that they can reopen the government so that when they leave town, they don't have to deal with delays. All right? Because that's what really matters in Washington, D.C., is our Congress getting the hell out of the swamp and not having to deal with delays. Now, your monthly insurance payments going up 3 times? No, they couldn't care less. And by the way, when they wrote the bill, they voted themselves exempt from it. Congress is exempt from these bills. Congress is exempt from the expensive health care that they burdened you with. See how that works? So that's how that goes, ladies and gentlemen. And do not doubt me. We'll be here in 40 days, and we'll be saying the exact same thing. We'll be saying the exact same thing. But you know what's really gold? Taking care of your own health, but also literally gold. Let me ask you something. Wait a second. Well, that's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Because yes, your health is gold, so take care of your health, but also gold is gold, and more people are now getting into gold than maybe you've ever seen. Maybe you've ever seen. And protectwithowen.com can get you into gold. Let me ask you something. Are you the type who waits to be rescued, or the one who protects your family before the storm hits? You're already seeing the cracks. The dollar buys less every month. Banks are showing stress, and this market is being propped up with printed money. And they're doing it again, folks. It's not if it breaks, it's how prepared you'll be when it does. Here's what they don't want you to notice. When the system starts cracking, the insiders quietly move first. That's why central banks, major institutions, and billionaires are piling into gold right now. That's why I've partnered with Allegiance Gold. When paper markets burn or the market fails, gold and silver don't. They're yours, not the government's, not the banks, not Wall Street's, yours. Allegiance Gold has been around for nearly a decade and is trusted by over 7,000 clients nationwide. Relationship-driven, A+ with the Better Business Bureau, 4.9 stars from real clients, transparent, and they focus on educating you first. Right now, they're offering up to $5,000 in free gold and silver with qualified investments. Whether through your 401k, IRA, or savings, they make it simple to move into something real before the next reset. Call 844-790-9191. That's 844-790-9191. Or go to protectwithowen.com. Protectwithowen.com. Protect your wealth and your freedom because nobody else will. Thanks to our friends at Allegiance Gold. Go to protectwithowen.com to learn more. All right. So then, here we go. Here we go into the big topics for today. And I wanted to start with this. From Mark Mitchell and Rasmussen reports, because they are the most accurate pollsters. But he is saying, he's basically saying in a more simply put way, let's say, less characters than me. Went to an event tonight, talked to 3 different people with Zoomer kids. They're demoralized. So what have I been saying about the social lives? What have I been saying about my experiences out there in the real world, in the social world? Basically, he's putting it simply, they're demoralized, but that's basically what I've been saying. This is real, folks. And anybody that talks politics with their friends knows exactly what we're talking about here. People are demoralized. They're disenfranchised. They're losing hope. They're losing trust. They're losing faith, however you want to put it. They're struggling, whatever the deal is. This is the real world. And then you go into the political world, you go into the political bubbles, and it's like they don't even see it. They don't even know what's going on. They're totally clueless. They're confused. And I'm convinced it's because they have no social life. I'm convinced it's because they're not talking to real people. But anytime you do, this is exactly where you land. This is exactly where you end up. Now, this brings us to the hottest topic. And it's really not even close. And that's this topic about, I don't even know really at this point here's how I frame it. And I'm going to try to do full spectrum coverage so that you understand why I frame it this way and why the Israeli lobby wants it reframed in a different light. And I know that each person out there is going to have their own angle and their own little agenda or way that they want it framed. But in my view, if you want this to be effectively communicated and effectively understood and then effectively changed, it has to be framed like this. The issue we have with Israel is a foreign policy issue and a foreign aid issue. That's what it is. And the people that want to make it an issue with Jewish people, they're deceiving you. And the reason is it's because they are doing this on behalf of Israel. They are working to benefit Israel. So if they can make it a Jewish individual issue, then the conversation goes like this. Hey, I don't like foreign aid, and I think our foreign policy in the Middle East has failed. They say, you're just a Jew hater. You're an anti-Semite. You're like, what? I'm talking about foreign policy here. Nope, you're an anti-Semite. Oh, so now they've reframed it. So now what happens? So now instead of a winning issue at the table, which is ending foreign aid and reforming our foreign policy that's been a disaster, now it's an anti-Semite issue. So instead of somebody that would normally agree with you, a normal person, a common sense person, a fair-minded person, most Americans, if you approached them and you said, hey, do you think we should have a foreign policy reform? They'd say yes. Do you think we should end all foreign aid? They might not say end all foreign aid, but they'd talk about foreign aid reform and probably ending foreign aid too, specifically to Israel. These are winning debates. The vast majority of Americans would agree foreign policy in the Middle East is a disaster. We need reform, and foreign aid to Israel needs to be stopped. The vast majority of Americans will agree with that. So if you're a member of the Israeli lobby, if you are loyal to Israel or you love Israel, well, you don't like that. You don't like that. You want the foreign policy in the Middle East to continue because it benefits Israel. You want the foreign aid to Israel to continue because it benefits Israel. So what do? Well, now that you see you're in a losing position, most Americans don't like our foreign policy in the Middle East, and they don't like our foreign aid to Israel. The vast majority of Americans disagree with these things. So now you have a job working for the Israeli lobby, working on behalf of Israel. Now you have a job to somehow win this losing issue. So what do? You say it's about Jew hate, and you say it's about anti-Semitism. So now the unsuspecting American, it's been totally reframed. And guess what? That same fair-minded American is against anti-Semitism. They're against Jew hate. They want nothing to do with it. And so you've reframed it now. So instead of framing this issue as a foreign policy, foreign aid issue where most Americans would agree, instead, You inject your Israeli lobbyist operatives to reframe it and make it a anti-Semite issue so that when you present it now to the unsuspecting American public and say, well, are you against anti-Semitism? Well, of course I'm against anti-Semitism. Well, see, this is why the foreign aid and the foreign policy must continue, because you're against anti-Semitism. And by the time you've reached this point of the conversation, they've already injected so much nonsense and so much fog of war and so much distractions that you're not even thinking about the foreign policy issue. You're not even thinking about the foreign aid issue. You're sitting here looking at personal issues. You're sitting here looking at this new label of anti-Semitism, and now, oh, that's what oh, yes, I'm against anti-Semitism. Oh, yes, I'm against Jew hate. So they've totally reframed it, repackaged it, redelivered it, and guess what happens? We continue with the bad foreign policy in the Middle East, and we continue with the foreign aid to Israel. So it's all done by design. You have to understand, it's all done by design. Why do you think, and I looked it up today, and it's actually neck and neck. Who do you think gives more money? Who do you think puts more money into U.S. elections? Marion Adelson or George Soros? Well, it's neck and neck, but I asked Grok believes Marion Adelson actually spends more money on U.S. elections than George Soros. Now, you could argue that they're basically neck and neck. They're both at almost $300 million. This is numbers according to Grok. Both Soros and Adelson are about $300 million spent on U.S. elections. And it looks like, though, most of Soros's spending was prior to 2020. The Soros spending was cut way down post-2020, and the Adelson spending was ratcheted way up after 2020. So in recent years, Adelson spends way more money than Soros in recent years. Now, of course, you'll have people that don't like one billionaire's money influencing our politics, but then they'll be okay with the other billionaire's money influencing our politics. And I simply say, if logic can't be applied universally, it's not logic, it's propaganda. Now, I don't know who or what George Soros is loyal to. I have no idea what George Soros is loyal to. I do know what Marion Adelson is loyal to because President Trump told me, and she's not shy about it. But isn't it funny? You always hear about Soros, but you don't hear too much about Adelson, even though she spends more money now than Soros does in U.S. elections. So here we go. So here's what's going on now. And this is the frame for all of the clips that we're about to get into here. The Israeli lobby is losing badly. And they know that at this rate, U.S. support for Israel politically will be a single-digit % by 2028. It'll be in the single digits. They know that if the United States military is not backing Israel, then the entire foreign policy on Israel's behalf comes to an end. And all of a sudden, Israel's hedge of protection, being the United States of America, is gone. And that puts them in quite a complicated, complex, and compromising situation, especially if Netanyahu is your prime minister. Now, you could have some political reform and you could have regime change in Israel, and you could probably cool the temperature there. But as long as it's Netanyahu and Ben Gvir and the rest, then if they don't have the protection of the United States military, they're in big trouble. And they know that. So that's why all of their operatives are going full on right now. And that's why they're even calling up operatives that weren't even supposed to be activated yet. I mean, every single agent in play right now, the big to the small, every single agent in play for Israel is being activated. Every single one. Now, I'm not going to leap to any conclusions about any individuals because we can only go off circumstantial evidence. But everybody can see what's happened. Everybody can see how individuals or even groups were injected into MAGA in 2024. And now that Trump has gotten in, that group or that individual has been totally rebranded and repurposed into pro-Israel content. So they used to do, anti-liberal stuff or anti-LGBTQ stuff, whatever. Now it's just We're just pro-Israel now. So you have to wonder, was that ever organic? Was any of it ever organic, or was it always there to serve a different purpose? Was it always there to keep you on a different plantation? Make you think it's an ally, but really at the end of the day, it's working on behalf of a foreign country, a foreign government. But this is where we're at. Now, you're not getting the truth out of Israel. And I'm going to show you this speech from the Knesset where Netanyahu is basically getting called out directly to his face. And this arrogant punk, by the way, who's... Folks, you want to know how corrupt it is? This is why it's so frustrating debating this topic with people. And this is why they are so desperate to keep it under the framing of anti-Semitism instead of foreign policy and foreign aid, because they can't win it that way. If you're debating the issue of foreign policy and if you're debating the issue of foreign aid, then the Israel lobby cannot win. It is literally impossible. But the way they see it is if you're debating anti-Semitism, then they can't lose, because everybody wants to stand against anti-Semitism. But now that's changing too. But here's how corrupt it is. The two biggest benefactors of U.S. foreign policy and U.S. foreign aid are Ukraine and Israel. You know they don't even do elections. They don't even have elections. Netanyahu is a dictator. Zelensky is a dictator. They cancel elections. They don't even have elections, folks. Now, the Zelensky situation is a little bit differently, but people in Israel believe that Netanyahu decided to start this war so that he could avoid court and he could avoid jail and he could avoid an election. That's what people in Israel believe. Now, you're not getting any of this in the Western media because most of your media is controlled by the Israeli lobby. So they want you to think Israel is a united front behind Netanyahu. Israel is a united front behind all these wars. It's not. It's very divided. Israel is very divided, very bifurcated, just like the United States of America. There is a hard left and there is a hard right. And they're clashing on nearly every issue. This is happening in Israel right now. So your media, the Western media, is not telling you the truth. Netanyahu is not popular. He would lose a re-election, and it's very likely, without the support of the United States of America, Netanyahu's probably going to prison for life. Okay? So maybe that gives you a bit of an idea of what Netanyahu's actions and behaviors have been like so recently, and why Netanyahu and his supporters are so desperate right now to prop up the foreign aid and the foreign policy on behalf of Israel and prop up the effectiveness of Netanyahu. But let's go to the Knesset, because you won't see this in Western media. Now, I'm going to have to translate this for you. So I will read from the translator here. But this was at the Israeli Knesset. And watch as MP Lazimi calls him out, and watch this arrogant punk. Honestly, Bibi Netanyahu, I think folks, he's got to be one of the most evil people that we've ever witnessed in this modern generation. I can't think of anybody more evil. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that this goes against so many people's brainwashing. I'm sorry this goes against so many people's propaganda. As if the atrocities done in Gaza weren't enough, which fine. For the sake of this, I'll even say, leave it up for debate. Was Israel right or wrong to do what they did there? Leave it up for debate then. That's a war. I know they stood down on October 7th, but let's pretend that that didn't happen and it was all organic and it's a war. Then then Netanyahu might have a defense. But watch the arrogance here as he gets called out for everything that's happened in Israel under his leadership. I'll translate for you. I accuse you, Netanyahu. I accuse you of the October 7th massacre, the greatest disaster the country has ever known happened on your watch. Even if you sleep with a clear conscience, we will not forget. We will cry out against the abandonment. A state commission of inquiry must be established. I accuse you, Netanyahu, of funding Hamas. building terrorism and turning a blind eye to the existential threat to us, of abandoning the security of the state as a policy. Security is not a political tool. You hear? It is above everything. And I accuse you, Netanyahu, of turning the working and serving public into the Messiah's donkey. You created the alliance of draft dodging and annexation. The bravery of the fighters has disappeared from your sight, but not from ours. It is the light with which we will rebuild. I accuse you, Netanyahu. Your personal corruption has become a national plague. Every corrupt person becomes your partner. The bigger the file you have on someone, the more convenient they are for you. A one-man trial has taken an entire country hostage. I accuse you, Netanyahu, because you forgot what it means to be Jewish. Trump brought back hostages in your place, while you, no matter what, were busy trying to get him to pardon you. Dozens of hostages were murdered and killed in captivity, while you failed to fulfill the commandment of redeeming captives. Conscienceless and godless. I accuse you, Netanyahu. Racism has always served you. You tore us apart from within. You turned half the nation into an enemy. So Netanyahu, I, the Moroccan, the traditional woman from Miguel Hamek, tell you, we will break the walls you built. We will cleanse the poison you've poured here for 30 years. We will return to being a united society. I accuse you, Netanyahu. Citizens are being murdered here as if they are dust. Governance, yeah, right. We, Likud, operates like a crime organization. Crime organizations rise up. I accuse you, Netanyahu, yes, of sacrificing life itself. People are utterly broken. Broken under the economic reality. So there you go. So you're not going to see that. By the way, there were protests the entire time. There were protests against Netanyahu the entire time. You saw them. They have them in these walled off glass areas so that their cheers and such can't disrupt what's actually going on. This is the truth about Netanyahu and Israel. Israel is very polarized, just like America. And there is not a united front behind Netanyahu. There is not a united front behind what Israel is doing in the Gaza Strip, in Jordan, in Lebanon, in Syria, the Golan Heights, the West Bank, you name it, all the different wars, all the different death, all the different destruction that Netanyahu is bringing in Israel's name. Now, this is again why they have to reframe the argument and say it's anti-Semitism. Because when you bring up the truth of these issues, they're undebatable. So they have to continue to remain this frame of anti-Semitism. And so that's why people have now realized it, and they're just rejecting it or embracing it and just saying, fine, call me whatever you want. I don't care anymore. It's not going to work here. It's just like what happened with the left and racism, or really the left and anti-Semitism. It was the left's attempt first to label everybody an anti-Semite. Back in 2015, 2016, and 2017, they failed. That's the woke left. They failed. So now the woke right is attempting the same maneuver to prop up Netanyahu and to maintain the foreign policy that benefits Israel and the foreign aid that benefits Israel. But Netanyahu is not that popular in Israel. His wars are not that popular in Israel. And there is major pushback politically and culturally against Netanyahu. And can you believe the arrogance while this is going on? It doesn't even matter him. Look at this arrogant punk. How can anybody stand this guy? And hey, you know what? If Israel is your big issue and you love Israel and you support Netanyahu, all right, fine. I know you probably get paid really well to do it. That's fine. Or if you do it organically, whatever. But this is right here. Just know this is what you support. This is a guy who is responsible for hundreds of thousands of people dying, probably more, really. If you really want to total it up, I bet Netanyahu is probably close to about 1 million people dying. I bet Netanyahu is responsible for about 1 million people dead. This is honestly the most evil man in modern history. 1 million people. What are you talking about, Owen? Whose intel told us to go into Iraq? Netanyahu's. Whose intel told us to go into Afghanistan? Netanyahu's. Whose intel told us to take out Libya? Netanyahu's. Whose intel said we had to let Syria fall? Netanyahu's. I'd say between all of those different wars based off of Netanyahu's intel, I'd say that's about 1 million dead. So, hey, if you want to support that, you can support Stalin too. Oh, look at the Stalin supporters. They're so bad. Well, you support Netanyahu, who's modern day Stalin. So look at the Hitler supporters. Oh, you mean Hitler, the ethno-nationalist? Who's the biggest ethno-nationalist on the planet today? Oh, Netanyahu. That's right. I can't believe you support Stalin. I can't believe you support Hitler. Well, you support Netanyahu, so you're no different. So here you go, though. And you see these attempts everywhere. I support Israel and oppose Jew haters everywhere. Full stop. There it is. So you see, they take a foreign policy issue, they take a foreign aid issue, and they turn it into an anti-Semitism frame-up. See what they do? And why do they do this? They do this because they can't win the debate. They do this because they know Israel is losing support every single day massively. So they have to reframe it to try to win that support back. And in that process, folks, things are going to get really messy. Maybe they already have. Maybe it'll result in bloodshed. Maybe it already has. Maybe it'll result in death. Maybe it already has. You can see how desperate they are. Here it is again. And I'll give Laura Loomer some credit today, by the way. But she's complaining here, and I will give Loomer credit. Laura Loomer came out today and called for foreign aid to Israel to end. So I'm glad. And I agree with Laura Loomer on that. But so here she is. Imagine getting your legs blown off. She's talking about Brian Mast here, representative from Florida, who goes around Congress in an IDF uniform. That's true. Imagine getting your legs blown off by Muslim terrorists and then posing for a photo with an Islamic terrorist. That's Jolani, who was the al-Qaeda leader who they just put in charge of Syria. How many of Brian Mast's fellow brothers and sisters in uniform were killed by Islamic terrorists like Jolani? So she's going to be calling Brian Mast's office, and I'm sure she'll get a direct line, by the way. But what's funny is, how do you not see this is all Israel foreign policy? How do you not see this is all Israeli influence? Why was Brian Mast in the Middle East fighting Muslims? Because Israel wanted him to be, and they control our foreign policy. Why was Jolani put in charge of Syria? Because Israel wanted Assad to fall, and they wanted their guy, the leader of al-Qaeda, to run it. That's Jolani. These are not negotiable. These are facts. She even admits it here. Israel's intel sent Americans to die in the Middle East. Israel's proxy wars toppled Assad and put one of their leading terrorists, Jolani, in charge of Syria. So we're the ones that are against this foreign policy, and then we get pushed back on. So really, if you would reach the same conclusion that we would reach, you would understand why this is happening. So I said, perhaps both were fighting for some other country's interests. So Yuri Israel weighs in. Again, watch the framing. Watch the framing. What do I say? Fighting for some other country's interests. So we're talking foreign policy. We're talking foreign policy, foreign aid. So this guy says, make it about Jews. Dude, you just made it about Jews because that's all you can do. The only way you can possibly win this debate is by framing it with anti-Semitism, which it's not. Make 9/11, the war in Afghanistan, and al-Qaeda about Jews. Well, you asked me, but I'll make it about Israel because that's my issue here, is foreign policy and foreign aid that is linked to Israel. That's my thing. I don't have a Jew thing. That's a you thing. You brought it up. So 9/11. Okay, Who were the dancing Israelis? The war in Afghanistan. How many Israeli soldiers put a boot on the ground in Afghanistan? The answer is 0. Al-Qaeda. It was funded and ran by the CIA and Mossad, and their top leader, Jolani, is now in charge of Syria. Right there he is. So, Mr. Yuri Israel here, whoever you are, probably a bot. There you go. There you go. And that's a nice foreign flag in your bio. I'm an American. I am here for American interests and American interests only. So if you're here for a foreign country's interests, well then, now you understand the disconnect. Here's another attempt at a reframe. And none of these people are honest. None of these people are honest. So Thomas Massey calls out Adelson, who just spent $20 million now. This is the most injected into a House seat. This is the most injected into a congressional House seat than ever, beating Jamal Bowman. AIPAC spent $19 million to defeat Jamal Bowman. They've now spent, well, Adelson herself has spent $20 million to try to unseat Massey. So what? So Adelson spends $20 million to try to beat Massey, and he's not allowed to respond? Or he's an anti-Semite? Excuse me? Excuse me? This woman is literally decked out in Israeli flags, and she spends $20 million to unseat you, and Massey responds, and they say he's an anti-Semite. Do you understand what is happening here? Do you understand what they're trying to do? It's the exact same thing the woke left did. If you're white, you can't comment about Black Lives Matter or you're a racist. What? If you're white, you can't comment about anything because you're on stolen land. Huh? If you're Thomas Massey, you can't comment about the woman who just spent $20 million to unseat you because she's Jewish. You're not allowed to do that. So what? So what are we really doing here? Just like what the left did. If you're black, you get to talk, no one else does. If you're Native American, if you're a woman on a boat, whatever it is. So now it's foreign policy. If you're not Jewish, you can't talk. Right, Thomas Massey? And he points out that Adelson is an Israeli citizen. That is a fact. That is a fact. So these accounts are now attacking Massey. Massey knows Adelson is a U.S. citizen. Yeah, and she's an Israeli citizen. This is a bigoted attempt to incite political violence against her. No, this is a bigoted attempt to incite violence against Massey. This is a bigoted attempt to try to unseat a very popular member of Congress in his district with Marion Adelson. Has Marion Adelson ever even been to Kentucky? Do you think Marion Adelson has ever spent a dime in Kentucky or Thomas Massey's district until this $20 million injection into his race? If it was Soros doing it, we'd all stand against it. But when it's Adelson, it's good. If it can't be applied universally, it's not logic. It's propaganda. So now it's all the attacks, the entire digital influence campaign funded probably by Adelson, funded by your tax dollars that we give to Israel, is now turning on Massey. This is what $20 million will buy you. Okay? Now, I don't know Marion Adelson. She might be a very nice lady. She seems to be very popular. I don't know if that's because of her money or because she's really nice. But I'm not here to talk about who's nice and who's not. I'm here to talk about politics. And I'm not going to play this game. You're not allowed to say anything bad about Adelson. She's Jewish. You're an anti-Semite. That's funny. I'd love to see you apply that same logic to George Soros. Please make my day. Apply that same logic to George Soros. Come on. If it can't be applied universally, it's not logic, it's propaganda. But I don't see him complaining. George Soros, the anti-Semites that hate George Soros. Nope, don't see that. And then look at this. Look at this classic gaslighting. Former spokesman for the state of Israel, Ilan Levy, Literally all Israelis want is to be left alone so we can enjoy our lives. Mutual, brother. Mutual, brother. That's all we want to. That's all we want to. So you guys want to be left alone. We want to left alone. Perfect. Time for a mutual split. Time for a mutual divorce, right? So you guys no longer need our military support. You guys no longer need our financial support. You no longer need our political support, right? I mean, we all just want to be left alone. So I completely agree with Ilon Levy here. Sounds like it's time for a mutual divorce. End this whatever it is with Israel. By the way, they're not even official allies. Did you know that? Israel is actually not an ally. There is no legislation. There is no document. There is no treaty. Israel is literally not an ally. It's just made up. Israel is, if anything, a leech that drains our blood until we're dry. But hey, they just want to be left alone. So I agree. No more foreign aid for Israel. No more foreign policy to help Israel. No more politicking on behalf of Israel. They just want to be left alone. So do we. So do we in America. We just want to be left alone too. So I'm glad it's mutual. There's no hatred here. There's no hatred. It's a mutual thing. Israel wants to be left alone. America wants to be left alone. So let's just have a divorce. But of course, who's really meddling in the other's business? Who's really meddling in the other's affairs? Are Americans in Israel telling you guys what to do all the time? Are Americans spending millions of their own dollars to influence Israel elections? Oh, that's right. You don't even have them anymore. So who's really in each other's businesses? Who's really in each other's front yard and backyard and kitchen and bedroom? Who's really not leaving the other one alone? Marian Adelson, $20 million to defeat Massey. She just also donated a bunch of money to Elise Stefanik, who's running for governor in New York. So unfortunately, Elise really wants to cozy up, and I understand why. She's got all the money. Unfortunately, now you will lose. If you thought Adelson's money could buy you a victory in New York, you just bought yourself a defeat. You actually could have won. I think Stefanik could have won on her own merit. I do. But now that she's cozying up and doing events with Adelson and taking the Adelson money and doing a whole Israel First campaign, now she'll lose. It's over. You're done. You're going to lose. You guys just don't get it yet. You guys just don't get it yet. Riding the Israeli flag to victory is no longer possible. It used to be the way to go on the right wing because they had all the money. Now it doesn't work that way. Trump will be the last one. Trump will be the last person that can ride in on a victory of the Israeli lobby. Stefanik will lose now, which is too bad. I think she could win on her own merits. And I mean, my God, she'd be better than Hochul, but she just couldn't help herself. She just couldn't help but get in bed with the foreign entity. She just couldn't help herself get in bed with the foreign citizens. She just couldn't help but get in bed with the George Soros of the right. She just couldn't help it. I've got so much more of this with video clips coming up. We're all sick of it, but it's never ending. So you want to see who needs to be left alone? Who is it that's being lectured? Is it Americans lecturing Israelis on how to run their business? Or is it Americans being lectured on how they need to let Israelis run their business? We'll investigate that on the other side.
You're listening to the Owen Report on the Win Network.
Navigating between the sane and insane, it's the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
Hey, guys, have you given my friends at Blackout Coffee a try yet? If not, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Go to blackoutcoffee.com/Owen. By the way, coupon code Owen right now at blackoutcoffee.com can get you 20% off your first order. So make a big order, folks. Make a big order at blackoutcoffee.com/Owen and then use coupon code Owen to get that 20% off. And hey, there's so many different options. I've become a big fan here of the instant coffee. It's just the best for me. It's literally instant coffee. So if you're constantly on the go, or let's say you slept in a little bit too long and maybe you lost 10 minutes of your morning routine, and that 10 minutes is when you normally brew your coffee, what are you going to do? You can't buy the time. But you can go to blackoutcoffee.com/Owen and buy a 32-pack of premium instant coffee. And now, maybe you can afford that extra 10 minutes. Maybe you can afford an extra 5 to 10 minutes of that sleep in the morning because you don't have to worry about brewing the pot and cleaning up afterwards and everything else. Just get the instant coffee. Telling you right now, it's been a go-to for me. And what normally is the issue where most other coffee companies fail on instant coffee, Blackout Coffee succeeds. And that is delivering an instant coffee that actually tastes like coffee, that actually tastes like a bold cup of coffee, not like the watered down stuff that you're used to. This stuff tastes like a bold cup of premium coffee from blackoutcoffee.com. Get your 32-pack right now. It's actually, they got a sale going on right now, $3 off. But I'm telling you, best instant coffee, total game changer for coffee heads out there. And what are you going to do? You slept in for 10 minutes. You don't have that time to brew the coffee. You're going to reach for your box of premium instant coffee from blackoutcoffee.com. But yes, if you are going to be enjoying a full pot of coffee, yes, you can't go wrong. My favorites, the Brutal Awakening Dark Roast, the Pitch Black Espresso Dark Roast. If you like a light roast, they got options for you there, like the Smooth Finish. If you like a medium roast, they got options for you there, like the Morning Reaper. And also, if you like the single-serve coffee pods, also very convenient, very popular. They have all kinds of different flavors for you. 30 different flavors, to be exact. 30 different flavors. Look at that. The Cherry Jelly Donut is already sold out. That's their latest. So I imagine that means people are liking it. But I think everything else is still in stock for you. You're getting into the holiday spirit. You've got your candy cane. You've got your peppermint mocha. You've got your eggnog and so much more. The single-serve coffee pods available for you as well. blackoutcoffee.com/Owen. Coupon code Owen at checkout for 20% off. Okay. So here we go then. Start getting into the video clips. It's like every time I do this, I'm hesitant because I'm sick of it, just like you are. This never-ending barrage. But it is important. It is important, one, because it's probably the most talked about issue on any given day right now in the political world. But also, it is important as an identity crisis. It's important as an identity crisis because what does America First really mean? What does America First foreign policy really mean? And what are we going to do about this foreign aid that continues to get doled out while the American people suffer? These are unavoidable topics. Unavoidable topics. And they're talking about it everywhere. It's everywhere you look. And it's this pressure that gets applied to the American patriot, to the American Christian, that if you don't support Israel, you're not a good citizen. If you don't support Israel, you're not a good Christian, which of course is taking everything out of context. Because it's not about, they want to make it like some Christian Israel of the Bible thing or some religious thing or a theological thing. No, we're talking about a state. We're talking about a government. We're talking about a military. So again, it's all about framing. They want to reframe everything. Oh, this is an issue of anti-Semitism. No, it's not. It's an issue of foreign policy and foreign affairs and foreign aid. Oh, this is a theological issue over Israel. No, it's not. No, it's not. Again, that's them reframing it to try to keep you on their team. I can't even listen. This guy is so. This has to be. Is this the most cringe person? Honestly, top 3 cringe people I think online today: Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, and Douglas Murray. I don't know. Douglas Murray might be the most cringe because he's just so forced. Like, at least I think Levin is up there being himself. I think Levin is actually a deranged psychotic. I think Shapiro is actually being himself. He's an Israel first religious zealot. I think they're being themselves. Murray, I don't know what Murray is. Murray is just a total fraud, and you can tell that everything he does is forced here. But he's back on the circuit now. He gets propped up by President Trump too. Gee, I wonder why. So, and by the way, this looks like it's somebody that used to support him here sharing this video. I don't know how else to really interpret the commentary here. It's sad to watch the decline of Douglas Murray over Israel. Insert how many other people's names right here. Insert how many other people's names. It's sad to watch the decline of blank over Israel. Now, some people will read that as a positive. Some people will read that as a negative, but either way it's happening. He says that 15 million Jews dying would be worse than 15 million Christians dying, and says American and Western civilization would collapse if Israel did not exist. I'm ready to test that theory, actually. I'm beyond ready to test that theory. Can we even listen here? Let's try to listen to this. Let's try to listen to this goober.
It's conceivable that at some point 15 million Christians could be killed. It would be a disaster, a tragedy. It's conceivable that at some point, Burma, India, 15 million Muslims could be killed. It would be a disaster. It would be a tragedy of an unimaginable scale, of mid-20th century scale.
Oh, really? Because you don't seem to be bothered by what's happening in Palestine, so you're just total fraud.
Hell. But if 15 million Jews were killed, that's the end of the story. That's it. Now, what does that mean for the Jewish?
That's, it's funny you say that, because what happened in World War II? What happened in World War II? Oh, that's right. 80 million white Christian men died defending a couple million Jews. Actually, that's what happened. 80 million white Christian men died fighting for many things, but yes, fighting for innocent Jews. 80 million white Christians died in World War II to free the Jews. And yet, what number do you hear about? Do you hear about 80 million white Christian men dying? No, because they don't matter. All that matters is the millions of Jews, because the Jews are more important to you. The Jew is more important than you are, a white Christian, according to Douglas Murray, and I guess according to the history book. So you don't hear that 80 million white Christian number, do you?
People, it's the end. The people who saw off everyone from Pharaoh to Hitler disappeared in the 21st century.
This guy's
everyone
so fake.
Else,
look at how fake,
in my view,
what a fake intellectual this guy is.
Wouldn't survive either.
I can't deal. This is like him and Ben Shapiro is like two serial killers talking to one another about how much they appreciate and love life. It's just, I can't even do it. It's just so fake. Let's see if Ben Shapiro can try to recover here.
Because how crazy is Zoran Mamdaniism? The Democrat Socialists of America have now put out a demand sheet articulating the organization's demands for Mamdani. Those demands include divest city pension funds from Israeli bonds and securities, withdraw city funds from banks that lend money to Israel or do business in Israel, end city contracts with companies that do business with Israel, operate city-run grocery stores free from Israeli products, investigate real estate agents hosting illegal sales of stolen lands in the West Bank, evict weapons manufacturers and transporters.
All right, this is hilarious to me. So Ben Shapiro is talking about some group you've never heard of. What did he say? Zoran supporter or communist supporters for Zoran? Whatever. So some group that you've never heard of. They have no agency. They might have some influence over Mamdani, but I mean, this is a group that has virtually zero power, okay, that you've never heard of, and they're making demands that are not going to get met. that any company that works with Israel would get boycotted in New York City. So you have a tiny group of people making demands that are not going to get anywhere, and Ben Shapiro acts like this is the biggest story in the world. Now, hold on a second, Ben. I'm sure that in your next segment, you're going to be covering all the anti-boycott laws we have here, where if you're a business in the United States of America and you boycott Israel, that you'll be cut off, right? Because that's actual institutional power. That's actual institutional legislative power being levied against Americans if they don't support Israel. What you're talking about is a non-existent power grab, a non-existent attempt to have people in New York City boycott Israel, which is, of course, against the laws that many people have already put on the books that you have to support Israel or you're a bad U.S. citizen. So isn't that funny? So Shapiro will come out here and talk about a group that nobody's ever heard of, that has no pull, that will get no results. But I'd love to see Shapiro stand against all the laws that say anti-Semitic speech is a crime. I'd love to see Shapiro take a stand against all of the laws that you'll get cut off from government contracts if you boycott Israel. I can't wait till Shapiro talks about those, because those are actually happening. That's actual institutional power being levied on behalf of Israel. What he's talking about is a nothing burger that will accomplish nothing, that he wants you to think is something, even though it's nothing. But then when there's really something, he won't even talk about it. Can I even stand Levin today? Can I even stand Levin today? A raging Mark Levin suggests Tucker Carlson belongs in a mental institution as he accuses Carlson of being fascistic, neo-Nazi, radical right. Yeah, these people are losing it badly, folks. They're losing it badly. Levin declared that he is the one who is America first and said others were trying to steal it from him. Who's buying that? I despise them. Yeah, I know. I know you're filled with hate, Mark. It bleeds through your eyes. It bleeds through the TV. I despise them because they are trying to use the cover of conservatism in the American flag to justify the unjustifiable. They try to steal MAGA they tried to steal America first, but these people are reprobates, folks. I can't do the Levin thing. I mean, I can do the people like my interpretation. I guess we could do that. All right.
The Islamists.
No.
The Islamists have killed more Americans, as Victor Davis Hanson so brilliantly pointed out.
Listen here, American. If you don't support Israel, you're a bad American. If you don't believe that Jews are God's chosen people, then you're a bad Christian. If you don't support me and give me every single dollar and tell me I'm America first, and tell the rest of the world that Mark Levin is America first, and buy all my books, you're a bad American. Dare I even say you're an anti-Semite? I'm Mark Levin. I'm America first. I'm the original MAGA. I was MAGA before everybody else. I'm Mark Levin. I never said don't vote Donald Trump. I was never a never Trumper. That's a lie. I was an always Trumper. I supported Trump before anybody else. I'm the real America first. Anybody attacking me is an anti-Semite, anti-American, Marxist, neo-fascist, Islamist that want us all dead. So imagine this from Mark Levin. Literally the never Trumper. Literally the guy that did everything he could to stop Trump from getting elected. And he says that MAGA is being stolen from him? What a sick liar you are. And we know, Mark, we know who you work for, and we know why you work for them. We know you're an Israeli loyalist, but here's what's funny. Everything he says is projection. He says they use the cover of conservatism and the American flag to justify the unjustifiable. That's you, Mark. You're the one that pretends to be an American conservative. You're an Israeli loyalist. You're the one that pretends to be an American patriot. You're an Israeli patriot. That's you. You're the one that pretends to be MAGA when you were anti-MAGA. That's you. So, part of me sits here as I watch this crash out, and I'm like, look, it's the biggest story. It's the biggest conversation. You can't ignore it. The people want it to be covered. I can't just not cover it. But, part of me sits here and watches this epic, legendary crash out of Shapiro and Levin and the rest of the Israeli loyalists that are really exposing themselves. Like, there's no amount of coordinated effort. If I sat down with the reprobates that Mark Levin talks about, if I sat down with them and I said, all right, what can we do to expose Ben Shapiro? What can we do to expose Mark Levin? What can we do to expose all of these foreign loyalists? What can we do to expose them? There is no plan that we could possibly come up with. There is no plan that we could possibly implement that would expose them more than they've exposed themselves in the last 6 months. So part of me is just like, this is great. This is fantastic. I don't have near the budget. I don't have near the platform that these two have. And yet I'm going to watch them destroy themselves. And all I have to do is just be a truth teller. All I have to do is just love America. And that's all I have to do. And in 4 years, these guys will be irrelevant and I will be the future. So it's like, I don't even have to talk about them. These two are collapsing faster than the Twin Towers on September 11th after a controlled demolition. But but see, this is what is so important for people to understand. They have no choice, folks. They have no choice. They're not in it for America. They're in it for Israel. They're in it for a foreign country. Maybe they're in it for religious beliefs and theological issues. I don't think so as much. I think it's just strictly about Israel. I don't think so. I think this is all about Israel for them. So you can't win. This is America. There is an America First revolution happening. It's quickly moving into America only. We went from MAGA to America First, which is the debate we're at now. So MAGA is dead. Now we're in the America First debate. Soon it's going to be the America Only debate. And if you're not with Team America Only, then you're on Team Not America. And so that's where Levin and Shapiro will be in 3 years. Imagine that. They have more money. Levin and Shapiro have more money to boost their content than anybody else you can think of. They have more money to boost their platform and to make sure that their stuff gets in every American's eyes and ears and anywhere else they want it to reach. They have the money and the influence to do that, and they will still lose. They will still crash and burn because at the end of the day, there's only one issue that matters. Either you're an American First patriot or you're not. And when you spend your time and your cause supporting a foreign country, you literally cannot win, and you won't. And there's no amount of money you can spend that's going to change that. There's no amount of propaganda-laden content that can change that. There's no amount of an attempt to frame a debate on foreign policy about identity politics that can change that. So part of me sits back and says, I should just not even get involved and just let these people crash out. Let these people show their true colors. Everybody's seeing it now. I don't even have to get into it. But you know what? It's important. It's important because I am America First. I am an American patriot. I do want to see my country succeed. And as long as people like Mark Levin have any influence over the conscience of the American patriot, have any influence over the narrative of foreign policy and politics, then we can't win. So Levin, you have to be removed from America First. You're not in it. You never were. Okay. And all this pounding on the desk and screaming. You know, he says this was his most important broadcast. One of my most important opening statements tonight. And it's all about how the right wing wants to be America First and leave Israel out. That's the most important thing he's done. And I'm glad he says that because it tells you his true colors. He's not an agent for America. He's not a fighter for America. He's not a patriot for America. He's a phony. He's a foreign agent. He's an Israeli first loyalist. But maybe there is an element of a religious bent to what Levin is doing when he says stuff like this.
This is our country. We're celebrating our country. Every July 4th, we're celebrating the principles that undergird our country. If you reject Judaism and you reject Christianity and you reject the link of the two.
Who's doing that, by the way? What is he even talking about? Notice how he starts shaking. I'm going to tell you something right now. I've been following Mark Levin for a long time. I've read his books. And, as somebody that likes talk radio, conservative talk radio, you listen to Mark Levin every once in a while. I've never been a big fan, but you listen. He's never been less confident than he is today. He's up here wavering, folks. Did you see him at that last speech? He was literally shaking. This is the most faux confident man you've ever seen. This is a scared little man. This little man is shaking in his suit. You can see how scared he is. He's petrified right now. He's living in fear, knowing that his entire empire is collapsing all around him, and he's being exposed for what he truly is, a foreign agent. Watch how he shakes here. Watch how scared he gets when he tries to make this a religious issue.
If you reject Judaism and you reject Christianity and you reject the link of the two, you reject the Bible.
Hold on a second. Who's rejecting Judaism? Again, who is making this a religious debate? Who's doing that? You are, because you can't debate foreign policy. Rejecting Christianity, Mark, who rejected Christ? Mark, rejecting Christianity. I'm sorry. Who rejected Christ, Mark? What are you talking about? So you see what this rapscallion is doing? First, he tries to take a foreign policy issue and make it a religious issue. Then he's going to try to tell you, a Christian, that you are somehow dutiful to be linked to Judaism. Who rejected Christianity, Mark?
If you reject Judaism and Christianity and the brotherhood and the sisterhood of the two, not only are you rejecting
Look at him
our
shaking.
founding, you're rejecting our country.
This guy is so scared. But it's not even that. He's lying. That's what he is. He is so lying with such a bold face on Fox News. That's why he's shaking like this. And that's why he's talking like this, because he knows he's a blatant liar. And he knows everybody that's watching this is going to know he's a liar. So here's Mark Levin telling you, you as a Christian, you have to be allied with him. If you reject this, you reject America. No, Mark. Who rejected Christianity, Mark?
Judaism and Christianity and the brotherhood and the sisterhood of the two, not only are you rejecting our founding, you're rejecting our country.
You know what? I feel bad now. I feel bad. I'm sorry. Let me get him off the screen. I feel bad now because what I see here is just a very scared little man, and I feel bad. He's really a frightened little man. He's like an injured possum, like crawling through garbage. Yeah. I feel bad now. What I see is a very wounded, injured possum, and he's climbing through garbage. And it's just sad, actually, to see. It's really pathetic. You're like, oh, wow, you're a pathetic creature, aren't you? I'm sorry. He's like, no, come into the garbage with me. I'm strong. I'm smart. The garbage is where you're at. We, the garbage people, you need to ally with us. This is what America's all about. It's all about my garbage. Like, oh, okay, all right, possum. All right, rat. You hang out in the garbage. I'm going to go do my thing. No, if you reject my garbage, you reject America. We're allied. Your mission has failed, Mark. Your mission has failed. I've got Ben Shapiro calling to cancel Nick Fuentes. It's like I don't even want to cover this stuff anymore. It's everywhere, and it just shows this is the break. This is the break. So I'm sorry. Yes, the right wing, the America First, the MAGA movement, whatever you want to call it, this is our break. We are breaking from Israel. It's happening. It's done. The decision has been made. Politically, we are done with Israel. Israel can take care of itself. Quite frankly, Israel needs its own reform. Who knows? Maybe Israel's on the brink of a civil war. It's none of my business. Israel can handle its own business, and I'll have nothing to say about it as long as it's not intertwined with me, as long as I'm not paying for it. But, I am paying for it. And, it decides my foreign policy. And, Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro tell me I have to be loyal to a foreign country. So, no, we're breaking with you. So you can take the right wing that is all about a foreign country. We're taking the right wing that is all about America. Simple as that. But you guys, the reason why they're so freaked out, folks, is because they have nothing. They have nothing. And as soon as American Christians and conservatives recognize these people for what they really are, they have nothing. Do you even think they'll stay here? Ben Shapiro literally said the only reason I love America is because it supports Israel. I'm paraphrasing, but that's the gist of the quote. Oh, yeah, you're a real American patriot. So he's here calling for Fuentes to be canceled now.
Responds to the argument that he has made, for example, that J.D. Vance is a fat gay race traitor who shouldn't be president of the United States because he's in an intermarriage. Am I allowed to respond to Scorn? I feel like...
Look at all the makeup he has caked on, by the way. I find it so gross. Look at all this caked on makeup. Good Lord.
Scorn is a pretty good response to that. And that doesn't actually deserve a debate.
Now, you see what he's doing here as he's shaking and getting scared again? You see what he's doing here as the body language and the delivery of his words starts to shake in fear? Nobody is asking anyone, Nick or anyone else, to defend things that he says that are mean, okay? But see, that's what they're doing, is they're taking the most heinous, outrageous, and sordid things that Nick has ever said. Fair enough. Nick went out there on his platform and said these things. Whether he was a young man or meant it or was joking, it doesn't matter. He said these things. All right. Nobody can deny that. Nobody is denying that. But see, this is all a deflection. This is all deflection. This is all distraction. Nobody's asking you to debate what Nick Fuentes said about Usha Vance. Nobody's asking you to debate the most racist things Nick Fuentes has said. Okay? You guys bring that up because you can't debate him on foreign policy. You guys bring that up because you don't want to have the debate on Israel's influence over our foreign policy and over our elections. So you deflect and you go to the worst things he's ever said because you can't engage on the actual things that matter.
It's because he's in an intermarriage. Am I allowed to respond to Scorn? I feel like Scorn is a pretty good response to that. And that doesn't actually deserve a debate or a fulsome discussion.
Nobody's asking you to debate that. Literally, nobody is asking you to debate the status of J.D. Vance's marriage with Nick Fuentes. Not a single soul is asking you to do that. You're doing that because you can't debate him on Israel because you'll lose the debate.
And that, in fact, treating that as though that is a rational idea is a disservice to rationality. But if you treat all forms of that response as cancellation, that's probably how you get to this math.
So, yeah, so we don't like what he said, so we're going to cancel him. I don't think Ben Shapiro will ever get on a debate stage with Nick Fuentes. And here's why. Ben Shapiro is not dumb. I don't think anybody accuses him of being dumb. He's obviously well-educated. Now, I don't know how smart he is. If he was smart, he'd probably change tact by now. But I don't know. You know, the influences behind Shapiro might be overwhelming, even for his own IQ. There's no doubt Shapiro is well-educated and well-read. Is he smart? Doesn't seem to be too smart. But here's why Ben Shapiro will never be on a debate stage with Nick Fuentes. He'll do anything possible. If he was about to go onto a debate stage with Fuentes and like it was a surprise, he'd run his car off the road. He'd veer off the road so that he ends up in an emergency room. He'll do anything to avoid Nick Fuentes. And here's why. Just Shapiro being on a debate platform with Nick Fuentes is a loss. Just him being on the stage, just him sharing a stage with Nick Fuentes is a loss for Shapiro. There's no win. Once that happens, it's over. He's lost. Because the whole idea here from the Shapiros of the world, the whole idea here from the Levins of the world is that they're better than you and that you don't deserve their time And you don't deserve their platform. And you don't deserve to have a debate with them because you're less than them. And your ideas don't matter because you're coming from a place of hate and bigotry. So therefore, your ideas on other things don't count. You don't count. So that's how they frame this stuff. And they've been able to get away with it for years. But now in the internet age and the digital media, alternative media, free media, X, whatever you want to say, now they can't get away with it. Now blacklisting somebody off of the radio airwaves or blacklisting somebody off of the Fox News airwaves, it doesn't work now. Now people can become independently successful despite the censorship, despite the blacklisting. So they've been able to get away with this forever. There's never been legitimate pushback on this issue because they've always been able to censor it out of existence, but they can't anymore. It's overwhelming them now. So I would bet you, I think Shapiro is smart enough to know he can never, ever get on a stage with Nick Fuentes. Because no matter how the conversation goes, no matter what happens in that debate, just Fuentes being on a stage with Shapiro is a loss for Shapiro because it shows that every attempted coordinated attack, every character assassination, everything they've ever tried to do to avoid that from happening and keep Fuentes like he doesn't exist in the world of Ben Shapiro's, all of that comes crumbling down. The entire facade, all of the walls, the foundations, the cornerstones, they all come crumbling down as soon as those two are on the same stage. And Shapiro knows that, and that's why he'll never do it. He'll never do it. He might even genuinely believe he could win the debate. And maybe he could. I don't know. Shapiro is a good debater. He's very well spoken. He's very well educated on the things that he cares about. I think it'd be a good debate, just like Fuentes. And it's a debate. It's a coming of age time for this debate. But Shapiro can never do it because just doing it is the loss. Just accepting the debate and getting on the stage with Fuentes destroys Ben Shapiro's entire career. It destroys everything he's ever built. It destroys the foundations, the walls, the cornerstones, and the entire game is up. The entire gig is up. The entire facade is up as soon as he gets on that debate stage with Nick Fuentes. And that's why I believe he will never do it because he knows it. Doesn't even matter what happens. The entire facade of Ben Shapiro and his talking points crumbles down as soon as he's on the stage with Fuentes, and now they're viewed as equals. It's over. It's over. So he'll never do it. I don't believe he'll ever do it. So here's more framing of it from Jonathan Greenblatt.
Anti-Zionism is just Jew hatred packaged in the sort of jargon of our current moment.
So there it is. I'm not going to do it anymore. It's just, again, it's the framing. Oh, it's anti-Semitism. Oh, it's this. No, it's a foreign policy debate. I'm an American. I'm allowed to have a foreign policy debate. I'm an American. I'm allowed to disagree with a foreign country's policies and wars and government. I am allowed to do that. I don't hate anybody. I'm not anti anything. I'm having a foreign policy debate with you, and you're losing. So you just call me a name because you're woke. Because you're woke. And just like Soros built the woke left, Adelson is building the woke right. There you go. There's one for you. Soros funded and built the woke left. Adelson is funding and building the woke right. There you go. And the occupation continues. Israel begins building concrete wall behind Blue Line in southern Lebanon. So it was always about greater Israel. So this is what Netanyahu is doing. And this is why he's so arrogant. And this is why he's not going to stop. Netanyahu is trying to expand Israel. He's trying to take land in Syria, the West Bank, the Golan Heights, Gaza, Lebanon, Jordan, you name it. Netanyahu is on a land grab, power grab mission. Maybe he thinks from God. I don't know. But that's what he's doing. That's what Israel is doing. And I don't want to support it. I don't want to support it. I don't want to support it with my tax dollars. I don't want to support it with my military. That's why I want out. Now, if Israel wants to continue it, go ahead. I'm not going to stop you. If Israel wants to continue to expand its borders and bomb 7 different countries, go ahead. Not going to hear a peep from me. Good luck. Not my issue. I'm not funding it. I'm not politically supporting it. I'm not militarily supporting it. I'm not financially supporting it. Netanyahu wants to continue to do this stuff. I say, go ahead, baby. Not my problem. Not my issue. We separated. We're not involved anymore. Fill your hand. But of course, we know that they wouldn't be doing this without our support, without our money, without our military. And that's why it's so important. That's why they're willing to pay whatever the price is, folks, including the collapse of the United States of America. Understand that. The Israeli lobby will gladly pay the price of collapsing the United States of America if it means getting their agenda done. See, and that's why it's so important to understand that. That's why you can't be distracted by the lies of a Mark Levin. That's why you can't be distracted by the lies of a Ben Shapiro. This is why you can't be distracted by the lies of a Jonathan Greenblatt. This is why you can't be distracted by the massive political operation against you right now from the Israeli lobby. Because you need to understand, and to Ben Shapiro's credit, he's honest. So is Donald Trump. Marian Adelson, she cares more about Israel than America. Ben Shapiro cares more about Israel than America. These people will gladly sell America to the highest bidder as long as they get Israel first agenda accomplished. They will sit there and watch America burn to the ground as long as they got what they wanted for Israel. Guaranteed it. That's what you're seeing. That's why they don't care about turning the right against one another. That's why they don't care about destroying MAGA. That's why they don't care about destroying Trump's legacy and agenda. Because it was always about them and Israel. It just continues.
I did a chalkboard, and everybody, even those on the right, said he's a crazy conspiracy theorist, and it doesn't make any sense. I did a chalkboard, and I did it every night, and I said, the Islamists, communists, anarchists, socialists, revolutionaries will all work together to destabilize first Israel, then Europe, and then the rest of the world, and it will finally come to America. And everybody said their argument was that they don't get along. What are you talking about? Socialists and anarchists, socialists, communists, they want giant state. Anarchists want no state. Islamists, are you kidding me? They don't want the same thing. They want Sharia law. The communists don't want Sharia law. You're seeing them now. They're all working together. I did a chalkboard.
So I don't think Glenn Beck's analysis is wrong per se. I just think, again, it has a framing issue. Glenn, I don't think that these ideologies ever come together. These ideologies are always going to be inherently conflicted. But you know what? Maybe whatever there is that is good and humane in these ideologies happens to overlap, and they all happen to agree that one thing is extremely evil. And that is what's going on in the Gaza Strip. Or that is, they don't want Israel influence over their foreign policy. So I don't think it has anything to do with these ideologies coming together to defeat something, and then that is a domino falling into something else. No. There is a huge issue in our country. It's called foreign influence. It's called bad foreign policy, and it's called foreign aid. And when Americans are looking into it, they find the same player in the same spot every time, and that's Netanyahu, and that's Israel. So they've all found the same thing. So yeah, you can have 30 different teams. You can have 30 different people wearing 30 different hats and 30 different jerseys. And you tell them, hey, go out and search for something. And if they all find the same thing, they all find the same thing. Well, guess what? They all found the same thing. And that's an Israeli flag, and that's Netanyahu. And that's foreign policy that's a failed foreign policy. That's foreign aid that's cost us hundreds of billions of dollars. And that's foreign influence from overseas that injects itself into our American political conversation. and outcome. So no, I don't think there's some sort of a domino effect here. I think 30 different people have all reached the same conclusion because it's that obvious now. It's never been more obvious, and their response to it, their crash out in response to it, actually shows how obvious it is. See, this is why I opened it up with the Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen issue. That's what I'm saying, folks. It's like this is, everybody sees it now. People that would never, I never talk about Israel. I would never talk about Israel 4 years ago. People would complain. They'd call me an Israeli shill. Israel was never my issue. But we've reached a point in time where it's just obvious. And we're just done. We're not going to get America first as long as Israel is on our back. We're not going to get America first as long as Israel has any say in the process. We've all reached the exact same conclusion organically. That's why all of these different groups that all want a better future, that's why they've all reached the exact same conclusion organically, because it's so obvious. And the more they try to latch on and cling on and deflect and lie and control the narrative, the more obvious it gets. It's never been more obvious. Why would we see such a coordinated campaign, the likes of which we've never seen before in American politics, all for a foreign country's interest? Explain that. Explain that. So this was from Bill Maher. See, they're talking about it everywhere.
The entire Republican establishment lined up against this. I'm not sure you could say that about the Democratic establishment.
Talking about anti-Israel.
Who we've had on this show, and I certainly have had my differences, but I'm glad to talk to everybody.
So he says the entire Republican Party is lining up against the anti-Israel crowd, so that tells you a lot. The entire Republican Party won't even align against anti-American causes, but they'll fight against anti-Israel causes. So that tells you a lot.
On this show, he was very good on this. He said, the danger I want to highlight tonight is anti-Semitism. In the last 6 months, I've seen it on the rise in a way I've never seen it before on the right. Here's the interesting thing I thought he said. He said about a decade ago, anti-Semitism began rising on the left and the Democratic Party did nothing.
But see, let's be fair about this. And again, this is where framing is so important. Is there a rise in anti-Semitism? Yes, absolutely. I'm not a denier of reality. I'm not a denier of facts. There is a rise of anti-Semitism, but you guys are inflating it. You guys are inflating it, and then you're actually also causing it. You're inflating it because you're taking a legitimate debate on foreign policy and foreign aid and framing it as anti-Semitism when it's not. And then you're causing it by calling people anti-Semites who just have a disagreement on foreign policy and foreign aid. So then they become anti-Semites. So is there a rise in anti-Semitism? Yes. However, you guys are lying about it, you're inflating it, and you're causing it, and I think it's all being done intentionally so that when you lose the debate on foreign policy, when you lose the debate on foreign aid, you just simply say, oh, it's anti-Semitism, so that people don't actually listen to the arguments that are being made.
And the decade that followed, it has consumed the Democratic Party. I'm not so sure he's not right about that. I'm not so sure the Democratic politicians are more afraid to challenge their left, who think Hamas is terrific, than the Republicans are.
No, Ted Cruz is right. I agree 100% with Ted Cruz.
Wow.
Okay.
You never get Democrats and Republicans to agree on anything except that supporting Israel is the most important thing.
They have hindsight, right? They saw what happened to us, and our party has been consumed by it. Like people would say, look, you could be anti-Zionist without being anti-Semitic, and I would say theoretically you could. They're just not. When you're holding signs on college campuses saying go back to Poland, that doesn't sound like anything to do with Israel. When you see a Jewish student walking on campus, you don't know that he's a Netanyahu supporter, but they were surrounding him because he had a Jewish star.
Yeah, those are all leftists, by the way. Those are all liberals, by the way.
Right. And so this has consumed us, and it is dividing us in elections. It is run through the whole party. We have tried to not talk about it. We've tried to tamp it down, but it is everywhere. It is moving swiftly. Okay. And now it's starting on the right.
So I'm trying to interpret this So I guess what he's saying is the anti-Semitism on the left is like lurking in the shadows. It's like either in the streets or it's lurking in the shadows in the Democrat Party. So what it kind of sounds like he's saying. It's like, hey, you guys see it in the streets, but then behind the scenes with the party, it's everywhere too. But on the right, we're at least having the conversation about it. But it's not anti-Semitism. So it's funny that Moskowitz admits that on the left, it is anti-Semitism. It is Jew hatred. And I think that you might have that on the left. You might have that on the right too. But what is really happening is a foreign policy debate and a foreign aid debate that they're losing badly. So they call it anti-Semitism. By the way, this is your new MAGA heavy hitter here, Cat Turd. He's a big heavy hitter. He drops loads. And he just falls for the most obvious fake news you've ever seen. And you know what happens? You know how you can fall for fake news easily when you're brainwashed? Makes it real easy. So somebody says Mamdani is causing truckers not to come into New York City. Folks, it literally says it's fake. Like it literally has a satire logo on it. And Cat Turd still shared it like it was real. These are your new heavy hitters of the right wing. These are your new MAGA cleanup hitters right here. They're so smart. They're so with it. They're not brainwashed at all. That they share something that is clearly satire, even has a satire logo on it. This guy probably has a satire thing in his profile here. Literally sharing satire as it's real. This is your new MAGA cleanup hitter right here. This is what you're going to bat with MAGA now. So brainwashed that they can't even see what's clearly satire. Did you hear about this? A stolen car ran through a checkpoint in Judea and Samaria. Within minutes, Israeli security forces captured the suspect. So this guy was in car. They were driving cars trying to ram through the barricades and everything, and they were able to get him. They were able to get him subdued within minutes. So good job by the Israeli forces there. Great work. My only question is, why didn't that happen on October 7th? Is my only question. What did I tell you about Ireland trying to separate itself from Israel because they see what happens? They see what Israel does to nationalist movements. So the nationalist Patriot movement in Ireland is trying to get ahead of it and separate itself from Israel before it gets as toxic as what we have here. Irish governing body to vote on call for UEFA to ban Israel. That's the United European Football Association. I didn't even know Israel was in Europe, but nonetheless, they have a team in there. So, Ireland has been paying attention. There is a nationalist Ireland First movement, and they've seen what has happened to the Patriot movement in the Netherlands. They've seen what's happened to the Patriot movement in America, and they've seen how Israel has basically destroyed it. And so they're trying to get ahead of that and make sure that the Israel issue does not destroy their Patriot movement. We'll see how it goes. We'll be following that, see if they have success. Meanwhile, this one kind of snuck through the headlines over the weekend. Ukraine sees emergency power outages after Russian attacks. So big attacks in Ukraine. They basically are going to surround Kiev and then give Zelensky one last opportunity to surrender. Millions endure power cuts in Ukraine as Russia strikes more energy sites. You know, I really hope at some point very soon Trump comes out and says, look, America has to deal with its own issues. Ukraine facing widespread power cuts after generating capacity reduced to zero by Russian attacks. So Russia is very slowly, methodically, systematically strangling Ukraine out is what's going on. It's not making any headlines right now, but that's what's going on. And eventually, Russia has already kind of teased it. But eventually, Russia is probably a couple months away from having Kiev totally surrounded and giving Zelensky one last shot. And that's going to be and then NATO is going to have to make a decision. The EU is going to have to make a decision. And Trump is going to have to make a decision, which is, all right, how much involvement do we really want here? Do we really want to save Kiev? Do we really want to save Zelensky, even though it's not a NATO country? Are we going to trust Vladimir Putin when he says we're not interested in anything else? We're just interested in Ukraine. It used to be part of Russia. This is a centuries-old civil war between Ukraine and Russia. The capital of Russia used to be in Ukraine. Or is the EU and the United States with NATO going to say, all right, we're going full-on war with Russia? Because that's what it would be. And all the saber rattling of Trump testing nuclear weapons, Putin bragging about their new nuclear warheads and everything else. I think that's mostly chest thumping. I don't think anybody actually wants to use this stuff, but it's also the staring contest. But I think by the end of next year, probably it's all going to have to reach ahead. And European countries, including the United States of America, are going to have to decide whether it's worth fighting a war with Russia over Ukraine. Because I think at this point, Russia is just a couple months away from saying, all right, Kiev, we have you surrounded. We can cut off all of your utilities right now. So we can reach a deal. Bring us Zelensky. We need to reach a deal. Or we're moving in and we're taking it, and we're going to take it hostily. And all the oligarchs in Kiev that are still there, that haven't gotten out yet, most of them probably have, but all the oligarchs or their families or all the rich people, the people that have been in the Kiev bubble throughout this whole war, it's about to get very real to them. And that could change everything. But it seems like that's inevitable now. And of course, Putin knows that Trump is all tied up with Netanyahu, and Netanyahu can yank the leash at this point and get Trump to move. I'd like to see that leash be broken. I'd like to see Trump take that leash off, but he hasn't yet. So Putin knows that leash is there. If Putin decides to make a move on Ukraine, he knows that Trump is still leashed to Israel, so that'll hold him back. He knows that Trump still needs to make trade deals. He's got an economy issue that Trump is dealing with here. So that's kind of a weight that's holding him down too. Does Trump really want to get the United States of America involved in a war against Russia in Ukraine when we have our own economic issues and we're still dealing with bad foreign policy in the Middle East? Seems like these questions are about to hit the ground. Seems like these questions are about to become at the front of the stack instead of the back of the stack. Seems inevitable at this point. All right, let's see here. We've exhausted most of today's news. I've got some other odds and ends that we can get to here, that we will get to here. We'll also open up phone lines. Let's see what else we have here. Let's see. We don't need that. We got a lot of odds and ends here. Speaking of Putin, Russia is open to providing hypersonic missiles to Venezuela. Again, I think this is just chest pumping. I think these are just dominoes on the board aligning. So Russia is throwing its weight into the Venezuela standoff with Trump and saying, yeah, not so fast. What a disaster. What a disaster, man. All we had to do was do America first. All we had to do was the America First agenda. All we had to do was focus on American issues, American affairs, and American people. That's all we had to do. That's it. That's it. And we just couldn't do it. And now Trump, and now it's all about to hit his desk like a big stinking pile of crap. But he did it. He did it to himself. So it's all going to come home now, Trump. All the foreign policy issues that you got us involved with that you should have said no thanks, should have focused on the U.S. economy, should have focused on deportation, should have focused on draining the swamp, arresting the deep state, cutting taxes, letting Doge go all the way. That's what you should have been doing. But instead, you got sucked into the vacuum. You got sucked into the drain of the Middle East and Ukraine. And now it's all going to hit your desk like a big, stinking, steaming pile of crap. And you're going to be knee-deep in this bull crap before you can even fix America. And it's sad. And now they got your vice president, by the way, in their sights. So I got to tell you, I don't know what the move here is, but let me just give you the examples. So the Israeli lobby are now attacking J.D. Vance. And that's because he's friends with Tucker Carlson more than anything. But also I think it's because Vance is a lot more, let's say, a lot more willing to hear the ideas of the younger right. J.D. Vance is a lot closer to the new generational right, which is anti-Israel. So that scares them. So you have all the Israeli lobby attacking J.D. Vance today, saying Trump made a bad mistake with Vance. Vance is having such a tough week. And these are all Israeli lobby accounts, by the way. Oh, it should have been Rubio. Now the ticket's going to be DeSantis and Rubio. Oh, look, Rubio, DeSantis. So you see, it's just everywhere. They put Vance on the cover of what magazine, guys? They put Vance on the cover of a magazine, and they had him doing the Hitler salute. Literally, that's the level of propaganda against Vance right now. Now, none of it's going to work, but I have to wonder. And I already said this, and I'll stand by it. I don't think this has changed yet. I don't think anyone from this administration is going to be electable. And I like J.D. Vance. I do like J.D. Vance. I might even be inclined to vote for J.D. Vance under different circumstances. But I don't think it matters. I think anybody from this administration is going to be unelectable in 2028 at this rate. Now, Trump could change this entire administration. Trump could change the entire force of this administration. He could change the entire outcome of this administration. He has plenty of time to do it. And should that be the case, then Vance might be electable. But if the administration stays on the course it's on right now, nobody from this administration will be electable. Nobody. Maybe Tulsi Gabbard is the only one. I don't even think RFK Jr. would be electable. Because Maha is it's still loading. It's like Maha is still loading. The only reason why Gabbard would be electable is because she's like the pariah of the administration. So she's kind of been able to stay in there and do her job, but not get the stink, the stench to stick to her of this administration. But I don't think anybody else will be electable. I don't. As popular as J.D. Vance is, as much as I like J.D. Vance, I just don't think anybody from this administration is going to be electable. DeSantis will be more electable than J.D. Vance at this pace. DeSantis will be more electable. He will be. Because he can operate whatever he wants. He can kind of build his own campaign and his own short-term legacy with the time he has left as governor, while Vance is going to be stuck to whatever happens at the Trump administration, which right now it's like, But if Governor DeSantis cuts property taxes, cuts income taxes, makes Florida the bastion of conservatism, the bastion of Republican red states, and then he gets to kind of control his own narrative before the presidential election cycle, he'll be at a huge advantage over a J.D. Vance who's going to be tied into whatever this administration does. So if what I would do though, but I already said this last week, Trump just needs to go on a massive firing spree. If I was Trump too, after getting caught napping in the Oval Office the other day, I'd look at myself and I'd say, okay. I need to basically go pedal to the metal for about another year and a half and then probably retire. Now, I don't know if that's within Trump. I think Donald Trump wants to go all the way with everything. So he'll probably try to go all the way. But that I'd say, I just need to reshape this entire administration. I need to realign our targets, our sights, and I need to do the America First agenda that we ran on and ditch everything else and go pedal to the metal on that for a year and a half, save the country, and then give Vance the reins and he can decide the rest of the way. After I got caught napping like that, that would be the sign of okay, I don't know if I can do this for another 4 years. But I'll tell you what, I can do it. I can do it by damn best for 2 and save the country and then hand it over to Vance. But you'd actually have to implement the America First agenda. And that at this point means, yes, abandoning the Israel cause, abandoning the Ukraine cause. And the only foreign affairs that you should be entangled with are trade negotiations. That's it. Foreign entanglements, foreign wars, military, foreign aid, all of that garbage, zero, zilch, nada, end it. The only foreign affairs this administration should be entangled in are trade negotiations, and that's it. And that's it. But, of course, that's far from what we're getting, and so here we are. That's why I don't think anybody from this administration is electable at this rate in 2028.
You're listening to the Owen Report on the Win Network.
It's the fastest 3 hours on the internet. It's the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
Jolani, the Al-Qaeda leader, now the leader of Syria, at the White House today. Yeah. Things are interesting, to say the least. I love it, too. I love it. Oh, my gosh, we elected a Muslim in New York City. We forgot about 9/11. And then I notice a lot of silence from those accounts on Jolani, the Israeli asset running Syria, at the White House today. What the hell is going on? What the hell? What the? Somebody figured this out for me. It doesn't make any sense. It's all nonsense, folks. It's all nonsense. All right, third and final hour here of the Owen Report. We are going to take some phone calls. Man, let me just get some of these odds and ends out of the way here. Let me just get some of them out of the way. I don't want to go too much into this, and I've told you why I'm kind of avoiding this topic right now. And the only reason why I pull this up is to give you an idea of kind of what's going on behind the scenes. And to the people out there in the broadcast world, journalist world, whatever, that are really sticking their neck out there and continue to cover this. I think a lot of people really appreciate you. And then, of course, a lot of people don't appreciate you. But here, I just kind of want to round this out just to give you an idea of what's really going on out there. So this is Angela Stanton King. And you could say this is kind of mainstream politics. I mean, Angela Stanton King is, she's pretty mainstream, folks. She's pretty mainstream. She's pretty connected. Most platforms, opportunities can be opened for her. And I won't read her entire post here, but basically she's saying that the whole issue with Shapiro and Candace and Charlie Kirk started because of a disagreement with Israel. Sounds like she even has some inside information. And then she basically goes on to say that she doesn't believe the official narrative. Okay. Now, I just bring that up for kind of just this rounding out of this conversation. She posted this a week ago, and I just didn't get to it because I just didn't even want to do it. It's so toxic. But the reason why I do it is because, I'm not telling you who to listen to or who not to listen to. Okay. Just listen to me. But it's like, this is what the conversation is really about. And I would just say, for the people that are mad at Candace Owens for her coverage of this since the assassination, you shouldn't be mad at Candace. Now, again, I'm not going to tell you, if you want to be mad at Candace and whatever, that's fine. Now, Candace said if Erica Kirk ever told her to stop, she would. So I'm assuming that hasn't happened. Now, that might not mean anything. But I would just say it like this. If you don't like what Candace Owens is doing, then do something better. If you don't like what Candace is doing, then find a way to beat her. The problem is you can't. And the reason why you can't is because there is no more compelling commentary right now than what Candace is doing. And the numbers don't lie, by the way. I think she's probably the #1 rated show right now. So I'm not telling you who to listen to or who not to listen to. I'm not promoting anybody's message or demoting anybody's message. I'm just simply saying, if you don't like what Candace is doing, then you should try doing something more compelling. And if you are getting any of everything Candace is doing right now could easily be put to bed. All the things that Candace is reporting on right now, and it's not just Candace, but she's kind of the leader in that community. She's kind of leading the charge, but there's others. All the work that they're doing right now is the most compelling work out there, and that's why their ratings are going up, and that's why they're getting the most views on social media. It's because it's the most compelling work. And if you really want their work to be put to bed, if you really want the Candace Owens and the people reporting on seeing the things that she's seeing, then you need to be asking your FBI. You need to be asking the FBI and the Utah police to come out and answer some of these questions, hold a real press conference, and give the American people answers. You see, all Candace Owens and some others that are really leaning into this, like Ryan Matta and Ian Carroll, and I get along with all of them, by the way, full transparency. If you are so mad at what they're doing, don't be mad at them. Don't be mad at them. Be mad at the local police for not doing their job. Be mad at the FBI for not doing their job. If the local police and the FBI had put together a compelling and convincing case about the assassination of Charlie Kirk, then Candace wouldn't be covering it. Ryan wouldn't be covering it. Ian wouldn't be covering it. They wouldn't need to. The arguments would already be laid out. The evidence would already be made clear. The case would be closed. But it's the exact opposite. So don't be mad. Don't be mad at the messenger. Don't be mad at the investigator. If you are mad at Candace Owens and Ian Carroll and Ryan Matta and whoever else is really leading the charge on investigating this thing from an independent perspective, you need to be mad at the FBI and you need to be mad at the Utah police. They're the ones not doing their jobs. They're the ones that have not presented a compelling case. They're the ones that have opened this door up for conspiracy theory. They're the ones that have left the void of answers. That's who you need to be upset with. That's who you need to be mad about. And so the reason why I bring that Angela Stanton King thing up, you have to understand, folks, nobody really trusts it. Nobody really trusts it. I'd say the two things right now, this is like my barometer, and I like it. When I go out, whatever, socialize, man about the town. Those are the two things that get brought up to me, probably more than anything else. They ask, well, what do you think really happened to Charlie? Indicating that they don't believe the official narrative. And then, hey, what are we going to do about this Israel situation? Indicating that they think Israel has unwanted, undue influence over our politics. The other one that gets brought up is the economy and why Trump keeps saying it's good. Those are the three things that always get asked me and always get brought up to me in public. So don't be mad at Candace. Be mad at the law enforcement officials for not providing a compelling case or laying out the evidence to convince you of their story. Because I would say that quite the opposite has happened, actually. All right, let's see what's going down in New York City. Again, I love watching people complain about the things that they're supposed to complain about. It's like, Here, throw that piece of red meat, throw that piece of propaganda out there, get everybody talking about this. And then meanwhile, it's like there's a real issue going on. It's like, here's a non-issue they tell you to talk about. And then there's, well, what's really going on in New York? How come we don't hear about this? Listen to what this lady says. She just got a toll bill. A toll bill? Why are we talking about tolls? Well, because a toll bill this large in an economy this bad is kind of a crushing bill.
I just got a $600 bill in the mail from the congestion toll pricing from driving in New York. I've been driving in the city for years, at least 5-6 years, and I refuse to take public transportation because I've been assaulted twice on public transportation. The Uber prices are absolutely insane, and there just has to be a solution to this. Like, I can't go on. How it's not safe. Like, public transportation is not safe. I'm not going on there. Like, no. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Like, I've been assaulted twice. Like, why would I go on public transportation again? So now I have to pay the price, $600, just to drive from Midtown to downtown. It's got to end. Needs to end.
Yikes.
I just got a $600 bill in the mail.
So that's a real issue happening in New York City that nobody's talking about. They're talking about potential issues because Mamdani got in, but they're not talking about real issues like that. Here's Elon Musk with Joe Rogan. Listen to this. Massive fraud. This is why it's just so ridiculous right now. It's like, why do we deal with this? And I get it from Trump's standpoint. He doesn't want to be that guy. Trump does not want to be the guy that brings the house down to rebuild it. He's made that clear. He just wants to kind of maintain the house and glam it up a little bit, make it better than it was. But he's not looking to tear it down and rebuild. Because this is one of those things where you'd say, yeah, this has to be torn down and rebuilt. The amount of fraud that goes into blue states,
that's what,
like California and New York City.
That's what was happening. They were also giving out like debit cards with $10,000. So it's not just about medical care.
Yeah.
The Democrats mentioned the medical care because they're trying to prey on people's empathy as much as possible, and then they imagine, oh wow, somebody has a desperately needed medical procedure, and shouldn't we maybe take care of them in that regard? But what they do is they divert the Medicaid funds and turn it into a slush fund for the states that goes well beyond emergency medical care. And New York and California would be bankrupt without the massive fraudulent federal payments that go to those states to pay for illegals, to create a massive financial incentive for illegals.
How would they be bankrupt because of that?
They wouldn't be able to balance their state budgets, and they can't issue currency like the Federal Reserve can.
And so their ability to balance budget is dependent upon illegals getting funding?
The scam level here is so staggering. So there are hundreds of billions of dollars of transfer payments from.
Now imagine, folks, again, Musk was in there and discovered all of this, and they were supposed to do audits to the last penny, and they were supposed to find all the waste, fraud, and abuse and cut it out. And then instead, Musk was cut out and Doge was shut down. That's why he got so pissed off. Now, I'll finish up with another comment on Musk, but we'll let him finish.
From the federal government to the states, those transfer payments, the states self-report what those transfer payment numbers should be. So California and New York and Illinois lie like crazy and say that these are all legitimate payments. Well, these days that I think they're even admitting that they literally want hundreds of billions of dollars for illegals. But for a while there, they're trying to deny it. So you get these transfer payments for every government program you can possibly think of, and these are self-reported by the state, and at least historically there was no enforcement of California, New York, Illinois, and other states when they would lie. There was no actual enforcement to say like, hey, you're lying. These payments are fraudulent. Now, under the Trump administration, the Trump administration does not want to send hundreds of billions of dollars of fraudulent payments to the states. And the reason you have the standoff is because if the hundreds of billions of dollars to create a financial incentive to have this giant magnet to attract illegals from every part of Earth to these states, if that is turned off, the illegals will leave, because they're no longer being paid to come to the United States and stay here.
Wow.
And then they will lose a lot of voters. The Democratic Party will lose a lot of voters.
And they would have a very difficult job if this is kicked out of reintroducing it into a new bill.
Yes.
especially once things start normalizing.
Yes. So, like in a nutshell,
So Musk wanted to put an end to all of that. And the DC apparatus and the Democrat power structure said, no, we didn't mean it. So we're not going to do it now. And then he left, and he was mad because, folks, you have to understand, Musk made a huge, not just a financial investment with the money he spent in 2024, but you understand he made a massive personal divestment from his own companies, which then caused stocks in his company to go down. Now, I understand people's issues with Elon Musk and the potential of the technology that he's bringing in. I have a little bit of a different approach to that. I think Musk sees the technology being built no matter what, and I think Musk sees who's building the technology right now as it's happening, and he says, well, I have to do it. I have to do it, A, from a competitive marketplace standpoint, but B, because I know these people and I know they're not good people and I know they're scammers and I know they're liars. So he wants to get in there and compete against the scammers and the liars to have a better product than the scammers and the liars. I really believe that. Musk's approval rating on my list is really high right now. I think Musk is up to like a 55% for me right now. Because for him to continue, which is very high for me, I usually, if you're above 50%, like 51% approval is pretty high with me. Musk, it was at 49. Now he's at 55. He could be upwards of 60 soon. You have to understand, every time Musk goes on Rogan or Musk goes out in public and says things like this, he's taking a massive risk. First of all, he's putting his life at risk, but he's putting his entire companies at risk. He's putting the stock values at risk. He's putting his entire mission to Mars at risk from talking about his politics. But because he's been successful enough and he's kept his companies running, now you start to see it. Look at Alex Karp. Look at Peter Thiel. And Peter's been a little outspoken in his life. He's written books and such. But I mean, notice how now everybody wants to be more outspoken. You see, Musk broke that wall. It used to be when you had these big companies, you wanted to stay quiet. You wanted to stay off the radar. You had to think about your companies. You had to think about the contracts. You had to think about the stock value. And you go out, you make public statements. One thing gets said wrong, stock goes down 10%. Contract gets broken. So it was always walking on eggshells. Well, Musk just totally shattered the whole paradigm. Now everybody wants to go out and speak in the public. And since Musk has survived it for the most part, now everybody else wants to do it. So my approval rating of Musk just continues to go up. And I understand why people have the issues with the tech. I get it. All right. I'm not here. I can't, you got those issues. That's fine. But I see Musk as the good guy in these equations. And I know people disagree. Friends of mine vehemently disagree with me on this. They hate when I talk like this. But that's how I see it. That's how I see it. And I'm so pro Musk at this point. I told you the other day I liquidated pretty much everything. So last week, I pretty much liquidated all my stocks before the collapse. It looks like it's coming back today. I made a couple plays today. I'm almost to the point now where I just want to have nothing but Tesla stock. Like I got to vote the other day to give Musk his $1 trillion bonus or whatever it was because I have Tesla stock. I'm almost now where it's just like, I just want to support Musk now. Just keep talking, Elon. Just keep talking. Keep exposing the crap that you saw. And if we get you back in there with a better candidate in 2028 who will let you finish Doge, I'm all in. I'm all in, Elon. I'm all in. And if it's going to be you building this new world spy surveillance AI state instead of somebody else, then maybe I would prefer you. I don't know. But it seems like you at least are transparent and you care enough about the general well-being for humanity that you're willing to talk about it. I could get a lot of pushback on this, and that's totally fair. I get it. But I see Musk moving more than anybody right now. I see Musk moving more mountains than anybody right now. I see Musk's ideas doing more for the future of this country and the planet than anybody else right now. And I don't even think anybody's close. So, hey, I'm the same way. I don't want to go into the AI surveillance grid. I'm scared about robots taking over, and the Tesla Optimus robot's going to be the first one to do it. I'm with you on all that. I have the same concerns. But at the same time, it seems like everybody else involved in this stuff wants to put their boot on the neck of humanity. Seems like everybody else wants to keep humanity poor and desperate and reliant on this system. Musk seems to want to uplift humanity and then boost it with this system. Musk wants to find a way to expand our operational capacity, not deduce it and centralize it. And Musk, I mean, who else comes out here and talks about all the fraud? Who else talks it to the American people like Musk? I don't see anybody. So I guarantee you, I know a lot of people disagree with me wholeheartedly on this, and I respect that. But I'm just thinking, like, I think Musk is the number one person to support right now. That's kind of where I'm at. That's my thought process. All right, let's see if there's any other odds and ends I want to hit here before we open lines. You know that Randy Fine, the Randy Fine Dual Loyalties Act? Randy Fine 2 weeks ago proposed a bill that nobody in Congress should have dual loyalty. You remember that? And he was doing a victory lap, and Laura Loomer and everybody were praising Randy Fine for writing the bill, the dual loyalty bill. Do you know who actually wrote that bill? That was Thomas Massie. That's right. Massie wrote the bill and introduced it in March. It was H.R. 2356, the Dual Loyalty Disclosure Act. Okay? So that was a Massie bill that Randy Fine stole and claimed he wrote it. When Massie wrote the bill at the time, in March, when Massie wrote and introduced the Dual Loyalty Disclosure Act, do you know what Randy Fine said? Randy Fine accused Thomas Massie of being an anti-Semite and said, quote, "This guy is gross. Who in Congress is a dual citizen? I think we all know the slur he's tossing around. The real question is why certain Florida politicians choose this bigot to hang around with." And then 5 months later, Randy Fine reintroduced the exact same bill and claimed that it was a conservative victory. He introduced this bill. And the same people that supported Randy Fine's bill attacked Thomas Massie every single day. Do you see what frauds we're dealing with here, folks? And do you see why it's beyond upsetting that Trump endorsed this fat piece of crap? These people are liars. They are phonies. They are the enemies to everything true and good. And they will gladly sacrifice the United States of America for a foreign country if they could. Gladly. So, Thomas Massie introduces the Dual Loyalty Disclosure Act. He's called an anti-Semite and he's attacked. And then Randy Fine reintroduces the exact same bill and he's lauded a hero. And the same people that attacked Thomas Massie are praising Randy Fine for introducing the exact same bill. When Massie introduced the bill, he's an anti-Semite. When Randy Fine introduced the bill, he's a hero. Somebody explain that to me. Somebody explain that level of fraud and hypocrisy to me. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Wild stuff. Ooh, I got another Shapiro one. Here, should we get one more Shapiro? The most triggered man on the internet today?
If you're a young person and you can't afford to live here, then maybe you should not live here.
Oh!
I mean, that is a real thing. Yeah, I know that we've now grown up in a society that says that.
All right. If you can't afford to live here, if you don't like living here, maybe you should move. Oh, interesting thing to say. Don't you think? Very interesting thing. Here, how about this? Let me do this. Do I have anything to write on? Yeah, here, let me do this before I open the phone line. So, I don't know, maybe you agree or disagree with this graph. Tech has the fewest a-holes per capita. Politics has the most. Yeah, I'd say this is pretty good. I would say, actually, I think media has more a-holes than politics, believe it or not. Only because most politicians are just cowards. They're just spineless cowards. The people in the media are actually like real hardcore a-holes. So I would say actually media goes over this. And that's too bad because there's a lot of good people in media too. But if you're talking about like the true a-hole power, I think media has more. And then I would either go politics or finance. I think both of these are bigger than academia, even business, I think. Academia, these are just people that they're just snobs. These are just holier than thou, these are just holier than thou snobs, self-righteous snobs. I don't know if I'd say a-holes as much. So I'd actually have academia down here. I'd have finance up here. I'd have politics somewhere down here. I'd say it's probably the most assholes, media, finance, business. No, I'd say media, finance, politics, business. I don't know. Tech and academia. I don't know. That's a tough one. So, but I saw this graph and it actually made me think something else. Let me do my own graph. Humor me here. Oh, maybe I can do my kind of fake overhead cam here. Let me clear a little desk space. Let me draw. Allow me to draw a graph for you, if you would humor me. And this is in response to the 50-year mortgage plan. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a little, you can see this here. So it's kind of like this. All right. All right. So you see this? No, you can't really see this. I have a Sharpie somewhere. Let me get a. All right. I'll have to, I don't see a Sharpie anywhere. Well, I'll have to just make this a little more bold so you can see it. But basically, this right here, so this is the top. Can you guys see this? This right here represents cash. Man, you can't see that at all. What about this? Yes. Okay. So this is the top. This funnel, reverse funnel right here, that represents cash. That represents cash in the U.S. economy. It's probably a bad example, but let's just say, so this represents the cash. Okay, so what does this represent? This represents that the top has the most cash, and that's probably a bad representation. In fact, let me do a better representation. For the love of God, do I have a Sharpie up here? I know there's one up here. Give me 1 second. I got to find this. We got it. We got it. So this is why the 50-year mortgage plan, it just adds to the problem. Doesn't actually solve anything. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Now we got a headset. Now we got a headset trap. We'll have to just make do. We'll have to just make do. Let me give you a visual representation of why the economy is in such a bad state with the debt, everything else, and then what this 50-year mortgage deal is going to do. And I can actually do better. So here's what you get. This is the actual cash assets, liquid cash assets, or hard value assets that you actually have a value. So not debt, not leverage, actual value, cash assets, whatever. This is the U.S. economy. Okay. So it's really probably closer to this. All right. So this is the U.S. economy. This right here is the actual cash and assets. So you can see it's, the top 1%, whatever. The rich have all the money. The rich have all the cash. The rich have all the assets. And then down here, this is the lower class. This is the lower class. So upper class has all the cash, all the assets. And then this is the lower class. Most of the people that don't have the assets, don't have the cash. So what does this 50-year mortgage do? Okay. So this is the cash assets. Now, let's show you the debt assets. Let's show you the credit, the debt, the mortgage assets. Well, what does that look like? That looks like it's virtually the exact opposite. So this is what you have. This is why the American economy is so bad. You see, all of the actual cash that the rich have is right here. All right. And then down here is the poor people assets all combined. Here's the debt. Okay. The debt, see, the rich, they have very little debt. They have very little debt, very little leverage, very little credit. Okay. They have all the cash, very little debt. This, all the debt up here, all this debt, all the credit, all the mortgages, everything, this is the lower class. So you understand what the 50-year mortgage is going to do? Eventually, all of this is going to collapse. Okay? All of this is going to collapse. Once there's so much debt, and so much everything right here, eventually this real value is not going to be able to hold it up. It's going to all fall down. It's all going to collapse. And then once this collapses, what is going to be, what is going to happen up here? The whole thing is going to collapse. The whole thing is going to collapse. Now, eventually, these people up here believe they can buy it all. They'll buy it all for pennies on the dollar. Once the debt bubble collapses and these people have no money and no property and no assets, nothing to speak of, these people with all the assets, they have all the cash, they have all the assets, they have all the power, they're going to buy all of this, which is the debt that nobody can afford anymore. So then you're going to have even more than you have now, the haves that will own all of this. They will take up everything that the rest of the people own in debt and mortgages and everything else. Once it all collapses, they'll be the only ones that can buy this, and then they'll own it all. And then you'll have the have-nots that are down here. Because all of this, all they have is debt. That's all they have. All of this, the bulk, it's all debt. And then this is their actual cash value. Well, the cash value is going to collapse under this debt. So then all of this down here will be the lower class with nothing. And all of this up here will be the upper class with everything. That's what this 50-year mortgage is going to do. Now, we've already done that. This might just speed up the process. Some might say that's a good thing. If you're an accelerationist and you think it all needs to collapse anyway, then you say that's a good thing. But that's all it does. The 1% has all the assets. They have all the cash. The 99% have all the debt, all the credit, all the defaults. And now, eventually, that tiny little pillar of value, that tiny little pillar of stored value, actual value, asset value, that is just trying to hold up this massive debt now with the 50-year mortgages, it's going to collapse. It's going to fall on top of them, and they're going to have nothing. And then that tiny little pillar at the top of actual value, cash value, asset value, that's going to buy up everything on the bottom, and then it's all going to be the haves and have-nots. That's what this 50-year mortgage is going to do. So again, some people might say, well, it's a good thing. But that's what's going to happen. So with that, let's do it. Let's open up the phone lines. We'll take calls the rest of the way. 747-255-60, 747-255-60. Single line, so I pick up, you're on the air. I just ask you your name and where you're from. So please do that for me. All right, first caller of the day. What's your name, where you're from?
Jay, Pittsburgh.
All right, Jay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's Ben Shapiro here. I was just telling you, if you can't afford your house and you're working like 70 hours a week, and you probably shouldn't be like living right now.
Yeah, and if you
And
don't,
you're
and if
an
you don't,
anti-Semite.
yeah. Well, now let me tell you, if you don't support this foreign country of Israel, then you should just move. You should move out of America because it's our country now, okay? And I'm never going to move to Israel because it's much safer for me here, okay? And I can convince Americans that they need to be paying for my home country of Israel and supporting the foreign wars of Israel because that's what's most important to me, okay? And if you don't like that, maybe you can't afford here either, then maybe you should be the one to go.
Well, if you don't get on board with Mark Levin and Ted Cruz and everybody else, and Tucker Carlson is the biggest anti-Semite, and you need to disagree with him. You need to disagree with Owen Goyer, and I call him Goyer, and you need to get rid of Candace Owens and everybody.
How long until Mark Levin says, these American patriots are the biggest anti-Semites I've ever seen? We can't have American patriotism anymore. It's anti-Semitic. They're one step away from saying that. They already say that European blood is inherently bigoted. They already say that.
Yeah, damn the Irish, you know.
Oh well, the Irish might actually save their country because they're avoiding letting Israel destroy their nationalist movement. So they got ahead of it. They saw what happened in America. They saw what happened in Netherlands, and they said, "Okay, hold on, not here."
I know, Conor McGregor, fight you for it, you know.
They got him too. They got McGregor to wave the flag and everything. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, so hopefully we, I don't know, we need to wake up here.
It's going to be a real test. It's going to be a real test, and it's, it's here now, man. We're in it now. Next caller, what's your name, where you're from?
Hey, Owen, it's Willie, California. How you doing?
All right, Willie, we're all right. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Hey, Republicans just don't seem to get it. You know, by allowing another recent November election to slip through their hands, Emerald Robinson and a couple of others were the only ones to point out the grift running rampant in the latest election.
Yep.
You know, it had understaffed precincts, voting machine malfunctions, power outages, even bomb threats were employed by Democrats this time. It's nothing new, but it's getting pretty old, and you might call it a conspiracy, but there's too many coincidences.
Well,
I don't
remember,
know. I just can't believe.
Yeah. Well, what did I say last week? I said it shows, it's like, what are signs and symptoms? Because I don't like to make claims without providing some evidence so that you can say, okay, there's something there, because it might sound crazy. I say MAGA is dead. MAGA is dead. You say, well, gee, Owen, how can you say MAGA is dead? Trump is president. It's like MAGA is here. It's like, no. You had two huge stories from last week that if MAGA was alive and well, then everybody would have heard about it. You just mentioned one of them. How many people are talking about the election anomalies from Tuesday night? How many? Virtually none. You have Emerald Robinson. I mean, I mentioned it here, but the point is MAGA is dead. Nobody cares. The fight is lost. You know, they're all feeling disenfranchised. They're all feeling bruised and battered. They're not fighting anymore. They don't see anything left to fight for with this administration. They feel that the fight is somewhere else. It's not theirs. They don't have any sway. They don't have the millions of dollars. Okay? And so normally, if MAGA was alive and well, then we would all be up in arms about what happened on Tuesday night with the different election anomalies across the country. But we're not, because MAGA's dead. It's zombie land now. So people don't feel the passion to fight. They don't want to anymore. The other story, the January 6th pipe bomber. Now, this one picked up some traction over the weekend. It got a little traction today. I'm a little hesitant to cover this one. And I love Steve Baker. And it's sad that Steve Baker is the one that had to do this work and make a big risk. I got to tell you, take a big risk to report this stuff. And I pray for him. I pray for his protection in this. But even the January 6th pipe bomber thing is like, even that can barely get play. So to me, that's the proof MAGA is dead. If MAGA was alive and well, and as fervent and patriotic and proud in its fighting stance as it was to get Trump elected, then the stolen elections Tuesday would be the biggest story. The January 6th pipe bomber being revealed, we'd all be shouting at the top of our lungs, and neither of those things are happening, which to me proves that MAGA is dead. So that's why I reached that conclusion. Next caller, what's your name, where you're from?
Owl Killer calling from Virginia.
All right, go ahead.
Hey, so I caught your interview today with Dr. Drew. It was pretty interesting. So I'm glad you're on this topic, especially when it comes to the affordability. So outside of Elon Musk, I don't know one of these billionaires or soon-to-be trillionaires that do a damn thing for the public. It seems like all they're doing is just basically sucking up as much money as they can. And look, I'm a capitalist, but I want to explain something. My wife is from the Dominican Republic. The reason a lot of Latin American countries went what were communists in the 80s was because we installed a bunch of dictators, and they were told that that's capitalism. And so they're like, if this is capitalism, we're going to go the opposite. What we're seeing in the United States right now, you're talking about a 50-year mortgage. This is not capitalism. They're not the billionaires are not doing anything for society. Dr. Drew was talking about the hospitals are the main recipient of the funds. It's not even him. It's the insurance companies and the hospitals themselves. Why is nobody building hospitals? Just the infrastructure there, so it's there for people to use, for doctors to use. There's like no giving back. Even during the Renaissance, the families throughout Europe built libraries, they built universities. Same thing. Even Rockefeller was building libraries.
It's so funny you said that. I was going to wait till you finished, but since you said it, and people have problems with Rockefellers, and some of the old American oligarchs, the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, and there's others as well. But okay, have your issues with them and some of the things and the policies and the issues and the stuff they left behind. They actually built shit. Like, they actually went to, like, middle towns and said, hey, we're going to inject a bunch of cash in Main Street, and we're going to rebuild it. Hey, we're going to rejuvenate this part of town over here. Hey, we're going to build a giant mansion up there for people to go turn into a tourist location and for people to go visit and look at how pretty it is and look out over the hills. Hey, we're going to build a winery for the people. Exactly what you're saying. You don't have, there's no pride anymore. Nobody wants to leave their name, their mark, their legacy on anything anymore.
No, it's absolutely insane. I'm going to say something. I am not as shocked that Mamdani won in New York or New Jersey or Virginia went left, because those are blue areas. I'm going to tell you something though. Those are symptoms. When you see the amount of people that premiums went up without the subsidies, we understand they were hooked on. Basically, it was heroin given out to them. They got them hooked on something that wasn't sustainable. But nobody is offering any solutions to these people. And like these kids coming out of college, I'm sorry, I'm 40 years old. These are not lazy people. They just don't have any opportunities. And when they don't have opportunities, they are going to be coming for who did it. That's what I don't think people are paying attention to.
No, and not only that, and people want to point to, and I want to take a bunch of calls here, or I'd stick with you because callers are lining up. Not only that, because two things can be true at once. There is no doubt some level of indoctrination in the universities towards communism, towards socialism, okay? And anybody that's been there would probably tell you that, myself included. Okay, it's very influential. That is very true. And so, okay, that leads to kind of a mindset in the youth that can turn into a political movement. This is true. But at the same time, on the other side of that coin is exactly what the caller just said. These are disenfranchised young people who get out of college, 50 grand, 100 grand more in debt. The best job opportunity they can get is maybe $20 an hour, maybe working full-time, $20 an hour. That's not going to pay the bills. And so they're just sitting there and they're acting pragmatically. And they're saying, well, is there some way I can vote my way out of this? So they vote for a communist who's promising them things that they can't deliver on anyway. So there's more to blame than just the college indoctrination. There's more to blame than just the leftist, liberal, communist indoctrination. There is a real world situation happening that is also leading to them making these decisions and voting for Imam Dani. So you can't address one without addressing the other. But it's like you said, the Republicans are only addressing one. They're not bothering to address the other. And that's why they're now losing the youth vote. And man, did they blow it. Man, you could have had generations. You could have had generations of Republican voters. You could have had generations of right-wing men and women. And they all voted for Trump. And now they're all going left again. And Trump's support on 30 or younger is hemorrhaging. Hemorrhaging. Because he didn't deliver for the American people. And that is a fact. And the longer these liars in the media tell you that's not what's happening, as long as these liars in the Republican Party tell you that's not what's happening, then they're going to continue to lose the youth vote, and they're going to continue to vote for communists and socialists. So I just don't get it. It's like, I take a big stand against communism. Oh, I take a big stand against socialism. I'm a big conservative. I'm the big Republican. Well, what are you actually doing? What are you actually doing to deliver for the American people to prove that they should vote for you? And the answer is nothing. Next caller, what's your name? Where are you from?
Steve from Massachusetts.
All right, Steve, go ahead.
I've been, following your career for a long time, and I respect your opinion. I respect all the different times that you've stood up and, basically just went against the grain, and, regardless of consequence, you did what you felt you had to do, and I respect that. With that being said, I'm genuinely curious, in your gut, what is it that you see is going to be like the flashpoint? Because I think everybody can agree that at this point, something is going on. Something feels like is going to happen. And I'm curious, where do you see that flashpoint? Is it international war? Is it civil war? Is it economic collapse? Where do you see it coming from?
I would say the top odds right now are major false flag in America to get us into another war. And then that will kind of distract from everything else. So I'd say major false flag. New York City, unfortunately, after this election is probably your highest odds. It's even gross and grotesque to think and talk like this, but you asked. I'd say that. And then I'd say economic collapse. I'd say the other one is economic collapse, because the stock market right now, it's like it's hanging on by a thread. And yes, it is a record right now, and it did recover most of its losses, and it's back up today. But what we've seen is, as soon as confidence wavers and as soon as one person decides to change the game, then the entire thing changes. In fact, I don't know what's going on with Palantir. It's kind of a major indicator right now, is why I mention it. Let me check up on Palantir real quick.
And do you see that as like, is that going to be something outside coming in, or do you see that as something that's going to be homegrown? Like when you say a false flag, are you envisioning this being like something like from within, or are you seeing it like, we have so many?
Oh, wow. Palantir way up today. So, okay. So it looks like things are recovering. So yeah, I'd say false flag is probably the most likely one. Where it comes from, I don't think it's we're in a global marketplace. Okay. There's people from all over the world here. People can sneak in here. It's been proven multiple times. So my guess is it would probably be a foreign aspect to it. But there will be domestic hands, showing it the way.
Well, keep up the good fight, brother. I love to see you continuing your way.
All right. Thank you for the call, folks. I'm stunned at Palantir because they were trying to short Palantir, and it went down bad last week, and now it's recovering. So I don't know about y'all, but if you rode Palantir for the last 2 or so months, 3 months, really. If you rode Palantir for the last 3 months, you were very happy. I liquidated. Now I'm wishing I hadn't. Although it's really actually just about back up. Still not back up to where it was. where I liquidated at. But okay, maybe the confidence in the market is starting to return. Because my concern was if that wavers and then the whales start selling and then panic selling happens, the whole thing can go down. So I'd still say that's a potential, but it looks like things are cooling off on that issue. All right, next caller. What's your name? Where you're from?
Hey, it's Tete from Florida. It's criminally dark outside.
Ugh.
It's like, I hate the time change.
Ugh, don't get me started on that.
Yeah, look up the Sunshine Protection Act.
The Sunshine Protection Act.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, just look it up if you have time. But other than that, congrats on your show, and I listen to you every day.
Hey, I appreciate that. Do you listen to my Ask the Doctor show? We just had episode number 2 with Dr. Drew today. Have you been able to catch that?
Yes. I actually just watched that before you went live stream.
Thank you. Appreciate that. We're going to have a lot of interesting doctors on there. Today's guest was Dr. Drew. It was episode number 2. It'll be a weekly show. Originally, we had hoped to have a set time for that show, but our schedule is at the whim of our guests who are doctors, so we kind of have to be a little flexible. But Ask the Doctor episode 2 aired today. Same channel, same X, same Rumble, same YouTube, but Ask the Doctor with great doctor guests. And it's mostly me conversating with the doctor. We'd like to implement more calls as the show gets a little more ingrained into my content, but glad you're able to catch that. So the Sunshine Protection Act is a proposed United States federal law that would make U.S. daylight savings time permanent, meaning the time change would no longer change twice per year. It would just stick to daylight saving time. So that's basically where we were at. This is an older act, but it never got passed into law. Funny enough, it was Rubio. It looks like Rubio introduced this as Florida senator in 2018. It got through the Senate, but was never passed into law when Biden was president. So basically, we'd go back to daylight saving time where the clocks were at. So it would be 6:53 right now and almost sunset instead of 5:53 right now and almost sunset. I don't know. I close my studio doors now because I can't deal with the depression of the darkness outside. Hey, by the way, did you guys see, and look, I don't support this stuff, and that's why I don't like to get into it. But a guy went up to Dave Portnoy during a pizza review this weekend and threw some change at him, and I think said, go back to Israel or something like that. I don't remember. You know, he went out there and said something offensive to Dave Portnoy. And look, if you're a public figure like Dave and you lean into the controversy, you have to expect there's going to be, there's going to be public pushback against you. Now, I don't endorse that. If you go out and you call somebody, the N-word, or you call somebody whatever, then, you're an a-hole. You've out-holed. If you can out-a-hole Dave Portnoy, then congratulations. You win the a-hole medal of the day. So this kid goes out and throws like quarters at him or something and says, go back to Israel or something. Well, he got arrested for a speech crime today. Mississippi arrested that young kid. He's also been kicked out of Mississippi State, it's my understanding. So he's been removed from his college and he's been arrested for saying mean things to Dave Portnoy. So look, I can come out and say I disavow all forms of anti-Semitic speech. All right? I can come out right now and say I disavow all forms of anti-Semitic speech, and I don't believe Dave Portnoy should have to deal with Jew hatred when he goes out in public and does his deals. Now, again, Dave is a controversial figure. He's an a-hole himself. So it's kind of like it should be able to go both ways. Even with me disavowing it, it's fair play out here, right? No, this young man out of college and arrested for speech. For speech. For speech, ladies and gentlemen. So I can totally disavow. That young kid, I would tell all young college kids, don't go out there. Don't engage in hate speech. Don't go make an ass of yourself. Don't go and do something that you'll regret. Be the bigger man. Be a man. So yeah, And if you want to do some sort of a tasteful joke, there's a way to do it, maybe. But I can disavow all forms of anti-Semitic speech. I can disavow all forms of hate speech and still fight for your right to do it. And Dave Portnoy, who's engaged in plenty of controversial free speech for himself, Dave Portnoy, who's no stranger to controversial speech and maybe even hate speech, Dave Portnoy should come out and stand up for this kid and say, you know what? What he did to me was disgusting. And what he did to me was despicable and should not be tolerated in civil society. But it wasn't illegal. And he should still be allowed to go to college, and he should still be allowed to operate without going to jail. Do you think Dave will do that? I'd like to see Dave do that. Or should you go to jail for anti-Semitic speech now? Would that happen? Would that happen to any other form of speech, by the way? If somebody came up to me on the streets and called me a cracker or whatever, would they go to jail? No, it's happened many times. I've never seen an arrest, and I've never filed for an arrest. If somebody went and called the black guy an N-word on the streets, would he go to jail for that? I don't think I've ever heard of that. But you're mean to Dave Portnoy, you're catching a charge. Explain that one to me. Or don't. Better yet. All right, final caller of the day. What's your name? Where you're from?
Owen, I just wanted to let you know that you should wear the hat. You should always wear the hat that you wore last Friday. I must say you pissed a lot of people off, but we don't care. We don't care. We're hardcore Americans, aren't we, Owen? And I just wanted to let you know.
I was off last Friday. I don't know what you're talking about. I was off last Friday. Rabbi Schroyer took over the show.
The Rabbi Schroyer is an amazing guest. He might give you a run for your money, Mr. Schroyer, but
he's pretty good.
You are still my favorite.
He's well-funded. He's well-funded.
He's well-funded, well-rounded, and l'chaim to him. He's a very stand-up person. And, Owen, I just wanted to say there are great people in the movement. You should interview. His name is Script Keeper. Script Keeper. He keeps receipts. Very good guy. Very nice guy.
Script Keeper. All right. I'll look into that. I'm out of time for the day. But you know what? Since we're doing the Trump impressions, let me close out the show. I was going to do this on a separate X video, but we'll just do it now before we sign off. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your favorite president, Donald J. Trump. Maybe the greatest president. We don't know all of the presidents because there were so many, but I might be the greatest. We've seen your demand for the Epstein client list, okay? We keep hearing your demands for this list, but we've decided to finally deliver it. We've decided we will be, after all, delivering you the Epstein client list. It'll be a little more personal, actually, than you originally anticipated. It's going to be delivered right to you personally with your name on it, in fact. So what we've decided to do, we will be delivering the Epstein client list after all the demands. And we've been hearing, too, when I talk about the economy, it's actually not so good. So we're going to be delivering right now on 2 demands from the American people. Okay. We are going to be repurposing the Epstein client list into a personal check for you for $2,000. Okay? So the client list that you want, that Epstein client list, it's actually so long, it's so big, it's so much paper, so big, this client list, almost everybody on it except me. So much paper that we're able to repurpose the client list and turn it into a check for all Americans. And so now you, listening to this, you will get a personal piece of the Epstein client list recycled into a check for $2,000. How do you like that? Now, it's going to take us some time because we are going to have to repurpose the paper. We are going to have to actually repurpose the list. It's going to go through a recycling process. Very green, okay? Even Chuck Schumer says very green. AOC says it's very green. Very good. So we'll be recycling the Epstein client list, repurposing it into a $2,000 check. So not only are we delivering the Epstein client list, we're personally giving it to you, repurposed as a $2,000 check. And that's why they call me the greatest president of all time. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. I think, did my camera just go out? That's right, I got a backup. Can't wait. Can't wait for that Epstein check. That's what we're going to call it, the Epstein client check. Okay? It's the greatest check of all time. And I've delivered it once again, your favorite president, the Epstein client list, and $2,000. You're welcome. Thank you. You're welcome. All right, that does it for the Owen Report today. God bless, Godspeed. We take a 21-hour break, same time, same channel tomorrow.
Had been paved down the middle by a government intent on fucking up this whole country.